Remember, Councilperson Hilber said she worked her whole life to become the mayor, and thus there must be full transparency. Councilperson Carrie Hubler, here you have the beginning of full transparency to why you should resign. You should resign your position as council member. You have 13 felonies, 6 contempt of court orders, a protection order concerning children, and yes, there's more. 1,000 pages more coming. And by the way, keep your husband away from me. He's already confronted me today, and I would like him to stay away, or you and he will be getting a restraining order, and I don't appreciate his intolerance towards me. He is a blatant fool, and he better just stay away, or there will be a restraining order. I am not happy about Mr. Brady Hubler and his bad behavior. He wants to have fun. He go down the road and maybe needs to go to Ridgefield or Sandy, Oregon, and have some fun there. Thank you, Council. I'm pretty upset, and I believe that the Hublers are a couple of people that need to get out of my city. I've lived here for over 50, 60 years. They've been here for a weekend. Now, get lost.
All right. Anyone else for the good of the order?
My name is Ron Walker. 0407. I am also a volunteer member of Historical Society. My interest here today is just to kind of, re-interest the council in the fact that the Bonnie Lake Historical Society is still looking for a kind of a permanent home that we can get our, we have a lot of articles and documents that have been donated to the city through the Bonnie Lake Historical Society. We need a place to put those because right now they're sitting in boxes and in a place where I don't think they are doing anything but being deteriorated because of the condition of the storage unit that they're in. And so I implore the council to give consideration as soon as possible to ratifying a location that we can and suitable arrangement that we can get in. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. That was one of the items on Finance Committee tonight. Anyone else for the good of the order? Okay. We will now start. Those that are virtual, you have 5 minutes. State your name and address for the record, please. Okay, I don't see anybody coming forward. The city will now disable all video microphones for those attending virtually. We have no correspondence. Next is committee reports. Finance Committee, please.
Well, the Finance Committee did meet this evening, and then I was wondering to myself the cadence on those reports because we just had that. So would this report be for this one or the previous one, or was there how did that work out when you were doing that?
It was for this one.
So
Yeah.
the one we just had,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. So this evening's Finance Committee, we did several items, of course, of business, and they included a personnel update, standard stuff there. If any of that information, you can contact Brian Sandler to find out details if you like. No significant issues there. Discussion items included a mayor signing the surplus of a variety of vehicles and equipment IT items. We recommended that to move forward to the next agenda for approval. That's kind of a standard thing that they have to go through a process when they're going to dispose of any governmental property. They need to do that in a way that they make sure they're not giving it to their buddy or something. Also an Allen York security camera. The powers for that is on for Field 5. They're adding cameras out there that the police and different people have access to dissuade of any possible vandalism or illicit activities in the area. And the power out there for the lights, of course, is 480. The cameras need 120 volt. So they're going to install the wiring for that. We recommended that for approval and move that forward to the next council meeting for possible approval by the full council. Also, we had a motion. Does that actually come forward then to the full council, or is that, it must, right? Yeah, it's just a motion because they're just moving monies around for and we approved it at the committee for full council consideration of a tire mounting machine and tire balancer. That'll allow them to do tire changing and stuff for, say, public vehicles, any of the, police vehicles or so forth. It makes it a lot easier to keep our officers more available if they don't have to deal with private entities and all that to get in and out of those places. They could do it right over at the public safety building. We moved that one forward for approval. Also, a resolution separately is a modular flooring resolution, which Mr. Walker was mentioning that your possible second home in the new modular over there. We approved and recommended for council's consideration the replacement of the flooring in that modular over there. It's the carpeted area that's been used for many years. It needs to be cleaned up a bit for those folks, and apparently the possible tenant will be doing some improvements also on their own there. So also resolution 2442, which is senior center improvements, another move and improve type of thing there. The senior center, we did get an excellent grant. Staff was able to capture 630 some odd $1,000 from the state. And we're going to use some of that hopefully to do a bunch of improvements over there. That will come forward as a full package for council approval, possible consideration there on the next council meeting. And open discussion items, we had definite consideration of council member Fullerton's consideration of a process by which we could take private bidding for different city services. So we'll be looking at some of those issues to try to figure out how we can work through that to figure out how we can make some of that stuff happen. So we're always looking for ways to make things more cost effective and better for the citizens. That was our discussion this evening.
Thank you, sir. Community Development Committee, please.
Right. The CDC did not meet on Tuesday, the 21st, as we had a tour of the Sumner Sewer Treatment Plant. Most of council members were present, as well as several staff members. We returned to the Justice Center and attended the regularly scheduled meeting or workshop. And we discussed the options for funding for the treatment that we just toured, the treatment plant that we just toured. For our next meeting on June 4th, we have an agenda modification. We will be meeting at 4:30 to 5:30 for our first quarterly meeting with the JAC, which is the Joint Advisory Committee, which is part of our new ILA with the Sumner Sewer Treatment Plant. So we'll be discussing items with the ILA for that. So that meeting will start at 4:30. Then we will have our regularly scheduled CDC meeting for 30 minutes from 5:30 to 6 p.m. that same night after we adjourn the JAC. We meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m. on the second floor in the executive conference room. Public is always welcome and encouraged to join. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, please.
We did not meet today. However, our next meeting is on June 11th, right here in this building on the second floor at 3:30 p.m. You are all welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't see any other reports. We have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
We have 3 Finance Committee issues and 2 full council issues. The first item, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2440, Resolution R 2440. The council motion would be to authorize the use of 121 funds to purchase night vision equipment for SWAT team members.
Motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion?
It was reviewed at the finance committee and for council consideration.
Any other discussion?
Just want to make sure everybody knows what the Bunny Lake PD is asking for. It is to help our SWAT, night vision, things like that. That can be very hugely beneficial for the police department.
I'll take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R24-40, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our next issue, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2445, Resolution R 2445. The council motion would be to authorize the purchase of a wax watch utility standard LX skid mounted vacuum unit.
Sorry, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? That's our Deputy Mayor Swanton.
Thank you. This is again reviewed at the finance committee level, I think for timeliness more than anything, but it was a small version of course, your large vacuum truck. So yet another tool Public Works needs supposedly to make their job easier and more efficient. So there you go.
I'll take that to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our next issue, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2443, motion M 2443. The council motion would be to authorize the use of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, and interest earned to conduct visual inspection of the stormwater lines and continue funding 2 maintenance worker / parks and 1 legal specialist position through December 31st of 2026.
Thank you. Motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Mayor Swanton.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great use of these funds. I'd like to recognize though that, these folks are actual employees that their term is limited in scope and length, of course. However, they are, individuals with like families and lives. So I don't take it too lightly when I allocate funds towards these folks and I want them to stick around. I don't think that, a maintenance parker work person is going to disappear or unless we get rid of all of our parks or something, that we're going to need these individuals on an ongoing basis, AKA, this is a great funding source to the end of 2026. I'm committed to making sure that they have a continued funding source as long as they're providing value to the citizens. I don't want them to think that their job is going to end in 2026. It could. All of our jobs could end at any point in time, of course. But however, this is a way to fund these individuals now. It does put pressure on the council to keep their eye on the far future where they're going to need future funds because we are an example of where we're using a funding source that's not an ongoing funding source. American Rescue Plan Act monies that we attributed to various sources is not something that we're going to get more of. So you're not going to be able to dip into that pool in 2027. You're going to need to have some kind of a funding source worked out on that long-term kind of a thing. What that is and stuff, the council will have to wrestle with, but I just, wanted to note that to me, these are individuals that we are funding, that we are committed to, and I don't want them to think that I'm not committed to, their lives really, they're exchanging their lives for working for us. And I think it's a social commitment more than anything. That's just my 2 cents.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, this is a Band-Aid.
Yep.
Hopefully we can figure something else out. Councilmember Baldwin.
So I guess I'm going to ask the maybe the difficult question here, but like obviously we always need maintenance workers for parks and we've needed them for quite some time and now we have them. What is the plan then? If we're not going to use ARPA funds and we want to keep them because we need them, then where
Years to figure it
are
out.
we doing?
So, yeah, so this is basically the Band-Aid to get us through this 2-year period. And then on the next budget cycle, essentially, it would need to be figured out how to put them in the regular budget, essentially.
So there isn't a way to, if that were me and I was the maintenance worker, And you're just, you're telling me like, oh, I value you. I want you to do this and I want you to do that, but there's no plan in place. And we're just going to be like, hey, next budget cycle, we're going to check it out. I don't know. I don't think that gives, I'm not really liking that.
So these actually were positions, I think one of them or two of them in particular were going to stop before the end of the year. So it was before a new budget would even go into effect.
Mhm.
So this was a way that Sherry was able to kind of work some numbers just to make sure that they do stay in, and that we have an option towards leaving them in the budget or putting them into a budget in the future.
Yeah, it was supposed
Is
to
that-
end.
I see her shaking her head, so I think that's accurate.
Sherry.
Yeah, sure.
I can speak up if the mayor chooses.
Please, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, the mayor's correct. This is kind of a temporary stopgap, if you will. One, it finishes out the year. All three positions were set to end October, November-ish. And so even if they were in the budget, we'd be laying them off for a couple months and then bringing them back. This assures that that doesn't happen. It also gives us some time to figure out our budget and work through that process to see where do we sit. Is sales tax starting to come back or not? As you saw maybe from your emails today, it's slowly starting to come back. We took a pretty big hit this last year due to inflation and being in a recession. So this gives us some time, including pursuing B&O tax again, which will take us some time.
Councilmember Baldwin.
I guess my question then becomes, what would be the time frame where someone would like know whether they have a definitive job or not? Like, what would be the window?
They
Like,
would
once the
definitely-
budget cycle comes
so
in,
they-
like, what's
They
the
know
time
that they
frame?
would be employed if, should the council choose to pass this tonight. I've actually emailed all three employees and they were actually thrilled with this because they all thought that their jobs would be ending sooner. This would ensure that they have jobs through December 31st, 2026, while I work on the 2027, 2028 budget. So they would know about their jobs then when it comes to the budget process for 26, 27, which isn't until, 2 more years from now.
Of course, everybody would point out that nobody has a guaranteed job, right?
Right.
We have a funding source to keep them on board. So,
Yes, I am aware.
a council in 2026 could decide that, oh, by the way, we don't want parks anymore. We're going to sell our parks to somebody. There's all kinds of things that can change. Nobody has a guaranteed job, to be clear, but we have a funding source guaranteed, but we need to figure out the funding source if we want to keep those people. That's what I was trying to get at. B&O is one source, or maybe miraculously a bunch of businesses come online to provide that level of support, all those kind of issues. It's just, I agree with exactly what you're thinking, Councilmember Baldwin, that, future councils, that's, is going to have to keep their eye on this. It's just, that was the footnote, right? We're going to need this because it's a $500,000 hole that we're filling basically, right?
And it's actually part of what I do every 2 years, right? I'm
Yeah,
evaluating
yeah.
all of our jobs, trying to make sure that I can keep all of the people employed.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
these ones just happen to have a unique funding source temporarily. But it would
Yep.
still be the goal in the mayor, whoever the mayor is at the time, but the current mayor and I have had the discussion that yes, the intent is to keep these positions.
Any further discussion? Okay. We'll take this to a vote. All those in favor of motion 24-43, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Madam Clerk, next issue.
This is AB 2431, Resolution R 2431. The council motion would be to authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with Parametrics Incorporated to provide design services for Allen York Park boat trailer parking.
Motion?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yep, we got.
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
We had we had two questions the council specifically wanted us to look into, which is why this was put on full council issues. The first was available funds in the park CIP to do this project. Currently, there's about $4.4 million in the park CIP that's available for projects. About 600-ish thousand is already allocated for $525,000 for the ball field conversion that we're using for the funding of the design contract, and then about 80,000 for the playground at Field 5, or 60,000, which means there's about $3.8 million in the park fund as it sits today for projects. I did reach out to the consultant and on, without doing design and trying to give us order of magnitude cost. They did give us both cost estimates, and this is why I don't guess, because I would have been completely wrong. Yeah, option one, which was the 24 space option, the total cost is about $3.5 million. That does include about a 30% contingency on that because of so many unknowns. The interesting thing is when you go to up to the 52 spaces, it goes up, but only goes up to 3.9 million. So the cost per space at 24 stalls is about $143,000 a space. And then when you go to 52, it's about 75,000. So it is more doubling the parking adds about $500,000 to the project cost. Before proceeding, we did want to give you that estimate. If you did proceed with this project, that's pretty much the park project for the next 2 years, depending on what revenue gets out and funds to park impact fees. But based on what we have in the fund now, this would be our park project that we would move forward with. Now, we could get a grant that could shave up to $1 million off of this, but that's unknown if we would qualify for that. So just in all transparency, wanted to bring all the information because we got those questions before the council voted. We know there's a lot on the agenda tonight for council goals. So if the council wanted to kick this forward to a future workshop, because I think we gave them bigger numbers than we anticipated, we would be totally fine with that as well.
For discussion, Deputy Mayor Swatman.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate all your research on that. Interim Services Public Director Sullivan. Yeah, no, it's excellent. I'm very conflicted on this particular project because, I love spending money for nice park stuff that people can see and use and provide value to the public. But yet I'm like looking at a, $4 million project possibly, which if that's what it costs, that's what it costs. We can look at our homes and they cost a lot of money too. And it's very little just for one person as opposed to the 50 some odd stalls that we could get out there. So I don't know where we should be on this, really, frankly. I don't want to spend myself a bunch of money on a significant design effort if we don't have a funding source fully in mind for this. Because if we do, I don't know which, if we go to maybe a 20% design or something, are we going to get better? I don't know. I don't know where everybody's at. It's kind of I'm conflicted, as I said.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, I'm conflicted as well. I do like the second option. Obviously, I've said that before. And I know it's a common complaint of citizens in regards to boat trailer parking. And so I guess I just don't know what the alternative would be.
Right.
I feel like we have circled this around and around, and I guess that's where I'm conflicted. I just don't know that there is another option. I feel like we've tried to discuss every possible thing. So that's where I'm at.
Councilmember Fullerton.
Yeah, I'm actually leaning towards being for this. We've got this big, beautiful park that took up, what was that, 4 or 5, 6 acres, something like that. And we lost all of the boat trailer parking. Hence, we ended up getting complaints from neighboring communities because all of the boat trailers were parking in front of their homes and littering and doing naughty things, not to mention. But anyway, I just feel like we lost around 50 parking spaces for the boat trailer. So now this would add 52 spaces as well as additional car parking plus the ballpark 4, which is right now about 30 or 26 boat trailer parking, would go back to 80 car parking. So that would give parking for ballpark 4 if there's people renting that field out. It gives the parking again for in front of the ballparks 2 and 3, and then as well as ballpark 5, having that additional 120 parking spaces. So I think that, you know, we will be charging for the boat launch passes as usual. This would allow us more parking so that we could open that up again to regional people around the area, not just Bonnie Lake citizens. And we can still offer the discount prices for Bonnie Lake citizens with their passes and whatnot. But I just feel like this is going to be the best security wise, because we're not going to have people loitering and being around the neighborhood. It's going to be safer because we're going to have actual designated parking for the boat trailers rather than right now, because we don't have a gate in front of ballpark 4. We have a bunch of cars that are eventually going to end up being ticketed or towed because they're parking in ballpark 4, which is specifically set forth for trailer parking. And there's only like 26 spaces there. So I just feel like on hot days in the summer, it would be great that we can offer as many spaces, a few more spaces than what we had before when we had the Moriarty property, just an open field. So for me, I think that this is, it's safety, it's convenience, it's providing parking, which is the biggest complaint since day one, why people don't want to go to Allen York Park, because they can't park on the street. They can't park in the neighborhoods around. There's no place to park. And eventually we're going to be renting out the ballpark 5. So that field is probably going to be used for the sports parking. So I just think that this is the most common sense solution for a big problem.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength here as Councilmember Fullerton. Just to also add on that too, I think it's helpful for our police department, as AC Boyle had talked about last week. They've had some accidents where cars park in there and boat trailers cannot get out of that parking lot, and ends up somebody's car not only gets towed or ticketed, it gets run over by a boat trailer, which has created some problems. So having the designated spot with the gate, keeping the cars out, I definitely think is a public safety advantage. Also frees up our officers to be handling other things than going over and dealing with an accident that's happening in the parking lot there.
Deputy Mayor Swanton.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that, with lack of all alternatives, it unfortunately costs a lot of money to do good work. So if you want a parking lot that has a lot of functionality to it and provides a lot of value to the citizens, we're going to have to spend some money to do it. So the challenge will be to the council to figure out where they're going to get some money at, because I don't believe that there's a fund available that you can steal this amount of money from eventually. That'll be the challenge. So, put your thinking caps on, get ready for that. I will vote yes on this.
Does
then-
finance?
Sorry.
Robert, I'm
Councilmember Hubler.
I'm the same feeling, because I know like in the presentation, Mr. Sullivan showed us that it would be gated. That gives a lot of safety behind those gates for people that have their boat trailers back there, and it stops people from going in and out that can't go in and out. So, and it added additional parking outside of that gated area for more general park parking.
Okay. Councilmember Hubler, did you have something first? You're starting to talk.
Fullerton?
Oh, sorry.
I was just,
Hubler, sorry.
I was asking Sherry if she had any opinion on whether we could finance this.
Oh, yeah.
Probably be a good question for the finance director.
So I think Jason told you, and I also sent it out, I believe, in an email to all of you, how much was in the fund. So like Jason said, should you pursue this project, then that's going to deplete the park fund.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, I guess this question is for the director, the
Interim
Director.
director.
Okay. The design of the boat trailer parking that, parametrics would, come up with, conjure up the second option. Would that conflict with any of the future design goals that we were looking at already, like way in the future for Allen York and restructuring kind of the roadway and the launch and all that? Would that conflict with it at
No,
all?
this was in line.
Okay,
That's why we held it. So
okay,
we kind of had a better understanding of what the parks plan for Allen.
yeah,
And through all the presentations, we really didn't get feedback on there. And this was always the vision.
okay.
If you look at the plan, their design is a little different than when we pulled the engineering, the location and the area is.
Yeah, same, another question, not the same. Is it possible for a project like this to be done, and if it's even advantageous for it to be done in phases? Like where we level it, we do the little water study action, we get it all cleared. Okay, park here for now, and then second phase is when we do more to it. Is that possible?
I do think it would be done over time anyway.
Okay,
And so just because where we're at in this process, right, we're gonna, if the council approves it tonight, we're gonna go to 30% design. We'll solidify the numbers, come back to council with those numbers. If we try to get for the grant, we're gonna wait to hear till about the grants. We're not even putting it out, finalizing design until 25. So construction's gonna be 25, 26. So you're gonna phase it out, and as Sherry said, we would deplete the park fund, but then there would be funds coming in, hopefully, do projects and other funding sources, 25 and 26. So I don't think you'd get to 0-0, but this would be the big park project we do for this biennium. We'd be looking at 27, 28 biennium. Bigger park.
You might as well finish it up.
would this provide some sort, I guess it's just in the summer, but would it create any kind of revenue as far as having the different type of gate, entry point and a little bit better tracking and all that?
One question Councilmember asked me, and I don't have an answer. I still don't have an answer because I have to follow up with legal and finance, was if during the winter months when the boat launch is closed, if would be a way to lease the spots out during the winter? And we're not using it for the.
As boat storage or
As boat
something? Okay.
storage over those winter months when the boat launch is not optional, which would bring in additional revenue source.
Yeah,
But I'd have to work with risk management, finance and legal to see if that's a possibility. We haven't gone down that path yet, not knowing where this would be, but that would be one revenue source. How that would look at and work. Could be a possibility of how to make the parking lot profitable, or revenue generating, I guess would be a better way to say it, during the winter months when it's not being used for boat trailer parking.
and that would go into the park fund if there was some, okay.
Any parking revenue we receive at Allen York Park for any parking fee that's paid goes directly into the park CIP.
Got it.
Councilmember Fullerton.
Yeah, so we have the new big beautiful park, Ballpark 5. But to me, this is finishing up the loose ends. So by fixing the boat trailer parking that was caused because of the new park, I think this solves that solution. Yes, we're going to deplete the park fund. Everybody has big dreams of Midtown, which I agree. I love the idea of doing something for Midtown as well and having a beautiful community center, but that is something that we're going to have to go to the citizens for help eventually. I don't think that there's a way to get enough revenue to create something that extravagant for the citizens, but this finishes up most of the loose ends for Allen York Park. It fixes a problem that we kind of caused by taking away the boat trailer parking. So I really do feel like for the money, I know it's a lot of money, but I just feel like this will definitely help fix, not just put a Band-Aid on something, but it's actually going to be a cure, hopefully, for the issues. And we're going to have so much more parking with Ballpark 4. And then there's additional parking outside of the senior center, but there's also still the parking for the senior center, which is not going to be taken away from them. Then we have the additional boat launch parking trailers. So I'm kind of a yes. Plus, we're going to have gated. We're going to, people who are utilizing the boat launch will have to pay for the code to launch the boat. And then that would also include paying for the access to the gate to get into the boat launch. So we are going to bring just a tiny bit of revenue in during the summer months. And so anyway, I like it.
Councilmember Davis.
Just one more question for Mr. Sullivan so if we did go forward with this, we put in the trailer parking and then the ball field 4, we came back into the 84 parking stalls. Would those go back under the paid parking that's going to be in effect for the other parking stalls at Allen York, the other car parking? Okay. So that's another even more revenue coming in from those.
For Ballpark 4, that's about
84, I think.
car parking, right? 84, yeah. It's a lot.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of R 24-31, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. And now I'll hand the floor over to Deputy Mayor Swatman to discuss
Alrighty,
council
fun.
goals.
Yay. So I don't know do we want to take a minor break here or anything, or do you guys want to do whatever? It could be a longer discussion type of thing. I don't know how.
Should we excuse any council members that have not been brought? I don't know, because did we excuse council member?
Oh, yeah,
Flanagan?
can we make
You're right.
motions now?
Yeah.
He texted me.
Yeah,
He's in
we can-
Montana
Yeah, if you want to make a motion, we can do that.
Sure.
right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Roach and Councilmember McClymans.
Second.
All those in favor of excusing Councilmember McClymans and Councilmember Roach, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good.
All right.
All right.
Very good. You guys interested in a break, or are you going to just go for it?
I mean, we can just go to the bathroom.
Okay.
if we need to, right?
Yeah, exactly. So thanks to Sadie and everybody else has been working on getting some goals and stuff together, or kind of a structure. That's what I think we've been struggling with a lot. I know myself especially, to try to get together with the full council to figure out what everybody's overall, visions are and their goals, and how that supports what staff would want to do for budgetary and the mayor's budget, right? In my belief, the sooner the council gets into the process and lets the mayor and administration know what the council's looking for in the future, that it's more likely that the mayor can easily support it, or just say that's crazy and I'm not going to do it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I think you guys have seen like the overall vision statement and stuff that we used in the last council biannual budget that we did, right? I emailed that to everybody, which has like the overall vision of the city, the balanced community, residential character, natural amenities kind of thing, right? All of this can be like changed and modified, or whatever procedure we want to use from the council's perspective to make this thing work. Any of the wording and stuff like that. But we had underneath that previously, we used like a public safety vision, which is like our future, the end state where we wanted to be looking for the citizens and everything for the city. We had the growth vision underneath there, right? Kind of categories of things, if you will, and economic development vision, I should say. We had the parks and rec green space vision kind of statement, right? We had a water and sewer utilities. I kind of meshed those together. They were separate. I don't know why utilities to me, I'd put them under kind of one vision statement. There's a city centers vision. I don't know if you know what that is, or if that still applies to our next budget going forward. And then of course a transportation vision in there, and a community engagement goal or vision type of thing. And depending on which versions of staff and everybody that we talk to, there's different languages they call different things, because one of the things we're really trying to support is this budget the GFOA budget kind of document framework, right? And Sherry can speak to that a little bit if she wanted to. There's certain elements that are required in that when we go forward with that to make it work, because if there's not, from the staff level and from the council level, that kind of a thing. So I don't know, we're going to have kind of a round robin discussion kind of thing. So it's, you guys are going to have to jump in here and say, well, wait, we were going over here, going over there. How do we make this work? How do we as a council effectively communicate our priorities, goals, those kind of issues to the administration to put into the budget, right? Any ideas on the best? We want to, Aaron, Councilmember Davis did a great job. I gave him an A+ on your detailed analysis of, he had a bunch of goals that he laid out too. Sadie came up with the idea basically of the goals and that we're supposed to have strategic kind of timely, goals. Besides, I give the example in my write-up, right? We want great parks, or maybe the council doesn't want great parks. That's not really very workable for the administration to kind of like put something behind. Yes, we all want great parks. That's a fantastic statement, but what do we want underneath that? What's our goals in there type of thing, I think. And that gets kind of mixed up when we start talking vision and goals and everything. So I
Deputy
don't know
Mayor,
who.
did you want-
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Sherry, go ahead and
Okay.
fill me in where I'm all screwed up there.
You're not screwed up yet.
Okay.
So
It's early.
basically, there was some discussion about budget goals, and it's not really budget goals per se. It's goals that need to be included in the budget in order to qualify for the budget award, which the city has received for the last, 4 or 5 budgets that I prepared. Without those goals, you will not qualify for the budget award. So the goals that I sent you this morning in your email, those ones have qualified us for the award in the past. And basically what they're saying, the mandatory is that you provide a coherent statement of organization-wide, not by department. That's a whole different section, and the department heads do work on the department goals. So organization-wide strategic goals and strategies that address long-term concerns and issues. So your list of goals, I know some people wanted to get kind of away from it, and that's okay, as long as you're still including strategic goals and how the goals are going to get accomplished with some sort of strategy. So if you want to stay with the current format, that'd be great. If you want to change it, that's fine too. But that's what I will need in.
Yeah,
be
from the
included in the
council,
budget.
right, and from the council's perspective, unless the council wants to change, which of course we can, like a public safety vision, different communities have different visions or whatever, but, I think it's important to have those out there. I don't know what again, we're kind of married with the mayor, if you will. It becomes the council's budget at some point that the council's responsible to, pass or not, right? Again, I'd like to be coordinated with what the mayor's thinking. I don't think the council's too far off with what the mayor's thinking, but we have to build on that because, the public safety vision there, as a council, we've always, had to maintain the strong public safety levels or what have you, right? And do we have any council member goals? Because sometimes we've done this before where we put little items on the board and have people vote, and then that gets all like screwy beyond belief when we start doing little dots on boards and stuff. It's really, really strange. Kind of works, but whatever. I've spent an extraordinary amount of time looking at a lot of goals for many years, and you can look at them and just laugh. They're just like, okay, some of them work, some of them don't. It's like, whatever. So how do we do this particular project or process? I'm looking at my notes.
Right.
Go ahead, Mayor. Yeah.
Right.
go ahead. Great.
I think one of the questions might be, how specific do you want to be?
Mhm.
You want some very generic
Yeah,
goals
exactly.
of like,
Yeah,
hey, we
exactly.
want,
Mhm.
something,
Yeah.
to be a good city, to be efficient, to be,
Right.
all these types of things. And we're going to do that by, funding these types of things that are going to help that. Or do you want to, hey, we want to do, I think one of these is, we want to annex this particular.
Right,
area,
I know.
right? So
Those
you can
are
get very,
really-
very specific. And so I think one of the questions might be just like, hey, do we want to be very broad or do we want to be specific?
Right.
I was talking to Sherry earlier today and it sounds like we can do either. You can kind of do whatever you want. It still fits for what the budget award would be. So it really is up to
Right.
council.
Yeah, because, again, from the council's perspective with those goals, the broad ones work out really well if we need those type of thing. And then, I don't want the council to get misled. Individual members, if they're looking for things, they need to be able to put those out there. Because again, we get it done through the budget and, if generally almost anything we do at a council level requires budget. So if you're gonna, which we just did, like with the parking lot or what have you, we put that underneath our Parks and Rec kind of situation, how do we do that? Because like in the Parks and Rec, I was using one where, increase the active use of Midtown Park, as a goal. How do we do that? Type of thing, right? And let the staff come back with, I guess, supporting criteria. That's something that can be measured, right? Because we need a way to kind of go around the horn and know that you actually did something for that or you didn't, type of thing, right? To get these things done. Aaron, go ahead. Yeah.
So I was going to say, I know in your initial email you had sent out talking about these goals, you had used the SMART acronym for us to be able to put these together. So which was the format that I put mine into, and that was specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound, which I think holds us accountable to some of the stuff we're saying, so doesn't just get lost.
Yeah.
We don't just throw a really broad statement out there like we want better parks, and then there's no action plan behind it. So I think we do need to be careful with how broad the statement gets, but also being as specific as we want to do this exact project by this exact date is kind of unrealistic because of budgeting and funding. But we do need to have some measurable metrics that have time frames put to them so we can continually be checking back in on our goals to make sure that we're progressing forward, that we're not just staying stale with what we want to do as a city. So I like the SMART format that you sent out. It's kind of what I put my 5 into.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And it was a nice way to be able to look at it and then have some tangible things that over time we'll be able to look back and say, okay, we were able to achieve this. We are still working or struggling to figure out this. What do we need to do to help maintain or move this next goal along for the city? So I'm not sure how many other council members use that SMART format, but I thought it was very helpful. So.
It's an open discussion. We have to go ahead and interrupt each other, right?
I'm not sure how to word this.
Yeah, go ahead. It's open.
Yeah, I understand that we want to come up with goals, the short-term and the long-term goals and things like that. But I think we have to be careful to stay in our lane also, because we're council members.
Right, exactly.
And we don't work for the city. And, I think it's fine to cast vision, but anything beyond that, we're out of our lane. We're moving out of our lane. So I think we need to be a little careful in that. I feel like what you asked for was a bit vague, as far as what part of the lane is really what a council member should be doing and what should the city employees be doing. And so I guess that's where I know you wanted this, I've literally heard the SMART acronym over and over throughout my teaching career. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And so I have suggestions and thoughts, but.
And I think to kind of address what you're saying, I think that's where it's important to be in conjunction kind of with the mayor and kind of see what the city's vision was along with our vision. So we do stay in our lane. So there obviously is some stuff in the goals that we're not capable of doing, that has to come from city employees. But again, it's just our idea of how we can move forward as a council. We're not demanding that they do these things. We're simply stating if for us to be able to progress as a council and accomplish some of these projects or these things down the road, we're going to need the city to provide us this information for us to be able to make reasonable decisions as we move forward. So we're not demanding that they do it, but if we're going to move some of these projects forward, we're going to need some of this information in a certain time frame so we can keep moving forward and things don't just get left behind. That's the way I kind of looked at it.
Go ahead, Gwen, jump in there.
So my question is for Sherry. This is a lot of this is for a specific award, correct? So we need to have these goals and visions in place. But can we just use what we have used in the past. I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel necessarily. And we pretty much have the same budget items every single year. You know, we got city employees, we have, you know, upkeep of the city, we have things that have to be paid regardless. So I don't really see where we need to
Right. Yeah, because it's a question
come
on.
up with new goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because, you know, like in the center's vision, I didn't exactly understand how that's lined up with the future, what the council's looking at for the center's vision, you know, if we're talking about, what you know, I hate to deviate too much from what we've done in the past, right?
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to. So if we've definitely changed a little bit what we're doing with the center's vision, I think, you know, and there's some, however it would word in there are the priorities behind that. What does that mean? You know, what does that center's vision that we're currently have in our plan mean to the administration?
Which center? Like the
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Sherry. Go ahead.
recreation
Oh,
center?
okay, yeah.
No,
My internet has been
Sit down.
just a
Yeah.
pain today, sorry. So
Yeah.
Gwendolyn had cut out. Councilmember Fulton, I believe, I agree with you. I think we're so late in this process this year. I would honestly take what we had previously and eliminate the ones that we don't need to do. And then I would encourage you guys to come back next spring or in the spring before the budget and really look at these and see, is this where we still want to keep this? In looking at the goals that I had sent out from the last budget, the very first one talks about developing a plan to support and retain staff. Well, we did do that, so we can take that off. The comparison employee study to see where the Bonnie Lake compared to others, that was done, you know, take it
Right.
off.
Right.
So I would literally go through this list and update it to what you guys, one, if it hasn't been accomplished, and two, if it's still a goal of yours. And
Right.
then possibly come back at a retreat and have a better process for what you want it to look like in the future.
Yeah, they need to decide sooner than later though, Sherry, right? Because, you know,
Yes.
yeah, we keep kind of kicking the can down the road. We have proposals from staff, the presentation that, you know, was emailed about, and we've filled some of those, but there's been some requests from staff. I don't know where the mayor's going to go on or where the council's going to support them, right? We've had that kind of a thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I think it goes back again to staying in our lane. It has nothing to do with demanding from the staff. It's making sure that they are doing what they're doing, we do what we do. And so in looking at this, if there are things that need to be removed and updated, is that something the council does or is that something the staff does?
No,
In
we.
removing these items on this document.
I think it's you as a council would get to direct staff at this point because you are together as a council and you get to, what is the council's vision goals for the city?
Right, but like Sherry just said, the develop a plan to support and retain staff.
Yeah, that came from the council. That was
goal.
direction
Right,
from
but she
council.
knows that that is complete.
Right, exactly.
So who is gonna, do you understand what I'm asking here? I don't want to talk in a circle and waste time is what I'm.
There's a lot of circle in this particular.
Yes, there
This this
And there needs to be a little more efficient is what I'm saying.
And I would like to know if staff has a this this discussion as well. Thank you. Sadie showed me the microphone
Yeah.
over there. If you
Yeah,
have any
yeah,
questions,
ahead.
because I do agree with
Mhm.
Councilmember Baldwin that we need to make sure that we are staying in our lane as council members. We set policy, but the staff also needs to make their needs known to us so that we can set
Right.
policy that will help pay for those needs, right?
So
So
what
the
normally,
need, sorry, it's hard. I can't see who's talking. What I was gonna say was, the needs come through the budget process, so that's not part of the goals. As for the document that I sent out, that's actually something that the city administrator has prepared in the past. So yes, I'm sure he can easily cross off what he knows has been done. But what he can't do is decide for you if it's still a goal of yours to square up the city limits along the north
Yeah,
and
right,
south
yeah,
sides of
mhm,
410. That's not his
Right.
decision. That's your guys's. Is it
Yeah.
a goal? I
Yeah.
don't know.
So is there a way to
has it-
have an updated document, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure, yeah, but what do we add to it is, I guess, one of the, it's easy to identify items that, have been done, right? So any of those
Not by the
items,
council, but by staff.
staff has,
Yes.
and or council could say, yeah, well, there could be items on there that maybe this council doesn't want to pursue anymore. Squaring up the city boundaries, that
So
could
do we
be,
maybe want to go like one by one then and say, or idea, like how are you wanting this to
Sure.
be formatted? Okay.
that's the goofy thing we're doing, right?
I, for one, would like to square up city boundaries so we don't look like a lion with an open mouth.
Right.
I don't know if that's a way, if there's a way to do that.
Well, and those are the hardest part about them, right? Is trying to identify those that are kind of doable. I guess working with staff, we actually have the expert extraordinaire on, squaring up boundaries happens to be in our presence. And you're going to get, he's going to say yes, maybe. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying specifically as it relates to Easttown, we are actually moving forward on part of that. The county, I'm sorry, Councilman Morrell was able to include into the county comprehensive plan, adding basically between the city limits and 96th to the comp plan amendment that would make that urban growth area, if it's approved at the end of this year, and allow us to square up the boundaries on the north side. And then we'd have to take another while to figure out how to do the south side. It took me about 12 years to get the north side done.
Right.
So that was the first task
Oh,
John
yeah,
tasked me
exactly.
with when I was a senior planner and he was the community development director. And I just now have
Yeah.
figured out how to make it work. So yes, still doable, but they are long lead items.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So
Deputy
we can go
Mayor?
through if that's practical. Go ahead, Sherry, go ahead.
One last thing to help out Councilmember Baldwin. I think if you
Mm-hmm.
consider the right side, the staff side, the left side of the
Oh, okay,
column,
yeah,
the council
yep.
side, I think that would help
Mhm.
move the
Yeah.
conversation along.
Yeah, definitely.
The left side is the staff, you said?
No, that's
No,
the
left side
council's.
council, yeah. So those would be your goals. The right side would be how we're gonna get there for you guys.
I did find that this document to be super useful when I looked through it, when you sent it out. I think, again, my desire would be for then maybe staff to get together and to update this document. Like, because why would we look at something that is not updated and it's like, oh, actually, we already did that. Actually, that was changed.
I
Oh, it
mean,
was what was in the last budget.
in
That was,
full
I read out of the
transparency,
last
right.
budget document.
right.
So how many updates have been made to this?
Well, none, right?
So the
Because-
water supply, we're still pursuing options for additional water supply. I know
Well,
we had talked about that before.
yes, we
Is that
did.
still something we're doing?
Right.
I, for one, would like to see if there's a way to either approach Tacoma Water again about the fluoride, or if we can find a different source, because
Right.
we, I believe, have a law or an ordinance that we do not put fluoride in our water here in Bonnie Lake. Therefore, we need to find another water source or force our hand,
Mhm.
maybe even a lawsuit if that needs to happen. I don't know.
And something like
Mayor?
that. And go ahead. Who's what? Sadie. Huh?
Let me explain what normally happens. So that might help.
It's,
So normally at a council retreat, the document that Sherry sent to you guys gets all blown up and each council member gets a colored dot and they get like 10 of them or something like that. And you go up and you put your colored dot on your priority things, or you add things or remove.
Mhm.
Every year, it's the same every year. Nothing's getting added, nothing's getting removed. I just get dots and I just count how many and reprioritize, which is it's usually the same every year.
Mhm.
So the reason to try and change it a little bit is to try and get a little bit of change or edits or something, because you guys, they just put dots everywhere.
Right.
That's what we end up with at the end of retreat, is dots on all of these. And so now it's one dot for every single thing, so they stay on it for the next budget cycle.
Yeah, it's funny mathematically too, that system just doesn't work. You know, I've blown it up several times, just obviously because there's all kinds of really rules and procedures behind it, because I'm going to take all my dots and put it on something nobody else cares about, and therefore mine's the most important and nobody cares about it. And it went to the top of the list. It's really dumb. It's like, anyways, so yes, back to our vision, I guess, right? And feel free to jump in here and smack me over the head. So if we can, get staff to update these things, right? Yeah.
I would like to.
How do we add the things?
Make- want to voice my disapproval and disappointment at the 3 retreats that were scheduled and canceled. And I felt like that was a little bit of a 3-ring circus, and I'm highly disappointed that this is not a retreat. So moving on.
We can always have a full retreat, but that's the problem right now, is getting staff together.
Right, we can't schedule it now. We've already scheduled and then
Yeah.
canceled and scheduled and canceled, and
Yeah.
granted, there was extenuating circumstances,
Well, we
but
can't schedule
it was just,
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's a lot of, staff that still has conflict in the near future,
plus we have summer months now and everybody gets to take vacation and, all that.
We can do that. Because in reality, again, it depends. It's what the council wants to do, right? It's whatever the council wants to do as the council, the full council. You don't need staff there in reality. You need the mayor, really. You don't actually need the mayor, but you need somebody to make that all happen. And again, it comes, you're trying to build something for that budget structure, organization, is how do you do that? We have these that we've done before. We know that we put dots on these things and it's like everybody's happy and they walk away. How do we work as a council to make sure that we get our particular visions or what have you inserted in the document that the staff can work with?
Deputy Mayor,
So
if I have a
what's-
suggestion.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yep.
I looked through this document, there's about 16 items on here, right? I think
Mhm.
for sake of getting this pushed forward, I think you just go down the list on the left side, develop a plan to support staff. Okay, cross that one off, John. We've done that. Square up city limits. I heard that
Right.
that was a yes, we want to do that. Keep that on there, John.
Mhm.
Annex
Yeah.
Country
Yep.
Highlands potential annexation area. I don't even know what this is. So is
Yeah,
that
it can be
something you want
broadened
to
out,
keep?
yeah.
I think you
Mhm,
just need to
mhm.
go through the
Boundaries.
list and say, keep, don't keep, add. I think Councilmember Fulton had a good one that, underwater, you add that you want to
Yep,
pursue something other than a place with fluoride. I think that's a good one.
Right.
Recreation, there's been discussion around there. Possibly you add something there. But I think that's
Mhm,
going to be
mhm.
your quickest way to get through this, and then discuss how you want to move forward in the future with a
Sure.
retreat and develop a new system. But
Right, exactly,
The-
yeah.
confusion surrounding budget goals, which is a mayor's direction, and the departments will reach out to me and the mayor to figure out what they want budgeted versus what your strategic goals are and
Sure.
how we can meet those goals.
Sounds good.
and Sherry, I would like to make sure that when we leave tonight, you have every item checked off that you need in order to apply for that award, or whatever it is that needs to be done tonight. So please keep us on track with that.
Right,
Sure.
And
Sure.
also with the water, I don't know if there's a opportunity to get a specific type of a filter, or what is that? The ultraviolet light system that can filter out fluoride. So that's always an option as well if we can't get Tacoma to change their wicked ways. But I think we definitely need to pursue that.
yeah, so we can go down through these and see how this works out with, we can suggest those ads, right? So if we go down, just like what Sherry's talking about, going down that left side there with the growth
Be
vision.
adding them, who's editing the document as we're talking?
I've got it up on my computer. I was going to suggest I can work with staff and provide you a red line version of what we feel we've completed already.
Yeah, We can, and you know, when we go down through it right now, right?
Yeah,
See how
Yeah,
this.
let us know if that's a checkbox moving, yeah.
Right, because again, if we're working on that growth vision section there, right? The develop a plan to support and retain staff, we believe we already have that one, so we can kind of drop that one out of our scenario, right? Is
So
everybody
can we
agree with
start
that?
from the top and go down? there?
Yep,
Yep.
does that work?
Okay, yes.
Okay. So then the next one is that square up city limits along north and south sides of 410, that's work in progress is what I heard.
Correct. And I mean, and what we would probably do is change the bullet point from,
Yeah.
instead of applications have been
Yeah.
made
Right.
to basically proceed with annexations in 2025.
Yep.
Assuming the
Yeah.
county approves their part.
Is there, part of that annexation is maybe South Prairie included in that?
No, this is, this,
The next
two?
one.
this is just from 214 to 233rd to 96th.
Yeah, the next box has that stuff for the PAA, I think is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and we would still propose
Yeah.
to complete the annexation study.
Yeah.
Before completing that annexation, that if the council in the future wanted to annex that area, that would be pretty,
Yeah, that's like the only,
there'd be a financial cost to the city because we have to do a door-to-door census, which is going to run us about $60,000.
that kind of a thing.
The smaller annexation on 96, there's like 4 or 5 homes that we can handle that internally.
Yep.
Those 2 annexations would require kind of that financial contribution from the council, and we propose to do that after we do the annexation
Is
study.
this state law thing still being,
Yes, I bring it up every year with the Association of
the
Washington.
probability of that is low?
I got more traction this year, so
Okay.
it got pushed because the next decennial census isn't until 2030. So,
What is the advantage of annexing these areas in?
well, it's a policy matter. I don't know if it's necessarily an advantage or disadvantage. The council has identified in the past the area from South Prairie down to about 112th as an annexation area to help square up the boundaries. Because like right now, when you go to the high school, you go from the city, we were just talking about this at the
Yeah.
committee.
Right.
You go, if you turn left from South Prairie onto 198th, 104th, whatever that street is, right where the 7-Eleven is, you go up about a half a block, then you go into the county, you're in the county till you get to the high school, and then you're back in the city.
Okay, so the
Right.
benefit is not necessarily to make straight lines, it's for school boundaries?
It's not so much school boundary, it's where the police can do traffic enforcement.
Uh-huh.
It's where code enforcement can do code enforcement. It's,
Okay,
you
so
know-
there is an advantage, and those are the advantages.
Yeah.
those are
Okay.
Some
that's
of
what
it.
I-
some of them. And there's advantages then for the residents, right? So if they need to get a building permit, they don't drive out to Tacoma, they come here and see us.
Okay.
If they want to get this is the great one I always like to bring up. If they want to get their concealed weapons permit, they don't have to drive to Tacoma, they can drive to the Bonnie Lake PD. But Chief had another idea.
So the disadvantage also is now you are
Mandatory
responsible for
garbage
those
service.
roads and all that stuff as well,
Sidewalks
right?
and patrolling and all of that.
So it's pluses and minuses.
The advantage I was gonna say is sometimes that emergency response, if you look at 96th Street, for example, you have these little cutouts that are county and then it's the city. It gets very confusing for South Sound 911 when someone calls and says, I need the police or I need the fire department. It's not quite the same for the police. There's a delay in dispatching as they try and figure out, oh, that's actually that weird little island that is Pierce County in the middle of Bonnie Lake.
Do we want to keep that?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, and they're already an urban area, right? They're developed, a lot of them are developed urban standards, and it's within, Pierce County's urban growth area or whatever they're calling it today. So, in my mind, it's one of those issues where it is kind of a big negative to take in a lot of those areas because it's going to cost the city a lot of money to do. But at some point in time, Pierce County is going to wake up and they're going to dump all of those areas onto cities. King County did that too. King County paid a lot of the cities to take those urbanized areas, but I think it's the best in the planned, the long-term planning to have a plan to kind of take it in the way you might want to take it in, as opposed to have Pierce County say, "Oh, guess what? Those are yours. See you. Bye."
In the annexation study, the point of that is to say, this is the tax revenue that would come in if those properties were paying property tax to the city. this is the cost to provide service, so the council can see kind of the financial implications of that decision.
Yeah.
Can the citizens in those areas ask for the annexation to be done
Mhm.
on their own too?
They could.
Okay.
They could file a petition, and then that would force us to do that. But no petition has been filed as of today.
All kinds of stuff. And then Pierce County is the big dog. Of course, Pierce County has ways of making that either happen or not happen.
Well, you did, Councilmember.
Right.
Neighborhood of 12
Oh, my-
houses, right?
Right?
Well, it went from just our neighborhood and it went to the next neighborhood and on all the way down Church Lake Road, annexed everybody in that was not
Right.
annexed in yet.
Exactly.
So it gave us all an advantage of having Bonnie Lake PD, which
Mhm.
was a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And another huge advantage for us was our water rates actually went down 40%.
Dang it. You should have taken note. Remember that.
Yes, sir.
So I'm hearing that that one stays in, right? Of whatever format they want on that. Okay, so I need to implement East Town sub-area plan. Is that kind of done-ish or whatever? It's a new version of whatever. it is.
I mean, we are implementing it, and we have done, the development regulations to update the vision for Easttown as a job center. I think if you wanted to keep something on there with Easttown, what I'd recommend is something to like continue to build out Easttown as a job center. And then under the staff side would be for us to file to have Easttown identified as a countywide manufacturing and industrial center. That's an actual application that we have to make. We're not there yet. We still have to get some more jobs in there, but it's something that we could do in the future.
Sounds cool to me. Go ahead, jump in there.
Yeah, under the growth vision, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about potentially adding there is communications with Pierce County Council in regards to Tahale and its growth. It was just in the paper as well recently, just the fact that like there wasn't enough planning involved in that whole scenario and how it's affected Bonnie Lake. And I really want there to be some communications with Pierce County Council, and just what is the plan, and what are we going to do, because they're just getting bigger and bigger, and they're driving through our town to get out. And so I think that there needs to be some sort of goal in there that talks about, that.
Are we
Including that.
talking to the SR 162 community group? They're trying to find the transportation network solutions. So they're trying to figure out how to do like an additional highway from Tahale down to 167.
Right.
I
Somehow.
guess more specifically,
So, I mean,
what
is
I'm
that a plan?
asking for, because we know that that's a huge plan, right? But like a little bit smaller plan is, talking with them about some of, the road situations, and them making sure that they are a part of, funding those things and a part of those plans.
Right, yeah. And Jason probably has good wording for that goal type of thing, or whatever. What are we calling these? Because we can add this, right? We're under this growth area. We want to add this.
I think I can work with John, and we can come up with some language that basically talks about coordinating with the county with development that occurs around the city of Pine Lake. Because it's not just Tahale. There's Plateau 465, which is down there. There's also other urban areas around the city.
I guess I just don't want them to ignore the fact that their development is affecting us and they're not really doing anything about it. And needs to be something in there to make sure that there is communication in that, like, we're not actually okay with this.
Well, we need to work with them, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a lot of friction between possibly entities there. So, it's definitely a good one to put.
We can work on some language, and then we can figure out what that actually means from an implementation side.
Okay.
So we'll insert that one under the growth vision, right? Yes. Everybody agree with that? Yeah.
Just
Go
to go
ahead.
back to the Easttown,
Okay.
what are your guys' thoughts on what Jason had talked about for the East Town, changing that to kind of be a little different because we don't need to implement that anymore, but we need to still continue that growth and how to do it properly, I guess.
Can we update the wording?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's not, maybe not implement the East Town sub-area plan, but continue to focus East Town as a job center for the city in the future. And then we can come up with some bullets on the other side, applying for the manufacturing industrial center, continue to work with, we can come up with some ways of implementing that on our side. If the goal is, I guess the council goal is to continue to make East Town a job center.
I think one of my hesitations with that is in regards to East Town, with the development regulations that are currently in place, like, does it stop certain, like, for example, something that I thought would have been really neat to have in East Town is to, if, let's say, a business wanted to, do a recreational facility or something like that, like, would they not be able to do that based on the code?
No, the council amended that code when we were
Okay.
going through and doing a couple other things to add
Oh, I
back
do
in,
remember this.
add back in a
I
number of uses in East Town.
I
So
remember.
I would say yes, that the code would not prevent that
Excellent. Okay.
in its current formation.
And with your examination of the East Town as a job center, you'd probably be able to identify some of the stuff that falls out of that too, in that process of, saying, hey, why don't we have a code that allows this or disallows this type of
Yeah.
thing, right?
To update it, yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we'll be adding.
It could be to update this,
Sure.
the East Town sub-area plan to make it clear what needs to be out there. So there's that implementation side that the mayor's looking for us, I think we can do if we know that the goal is to make East Town a job center.
So does anyone have anything else they want to add under that growth area, kind of concept umbrella thing? Growth. Did Mr. Davis have anything sitting in his growth section there, or was that
I think that would fall under that.
nothing in that? We'll move along then to the economic development vision, right? Yes, we still want to keep that one, I would imagine. Yes, we like that. The first item would be the current one. We have expand on relationship with businesses, community involvement, Bonnie Lake Days, beautify, special events. Do we keep that one or do we delete it? I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. I'm wondering if there is a way for council to periodically meet with the Chamber of Commerce. I would like to develop a better communication and more business-friendly atmosphere so that the commerce can come to us when they have suggestions and not feel like we're the enemy and we're trying to set up roadblocks, but we're taking down those roadblocks and opening up communication with the businesses so that they can voice their complaints maybe through the Chamber of Commerce. And then they can let us know, like, okay, well, these permits are unnecessary and costly. This permit took 6 months to get when it should have taken 2 weeks, so
So-
just be able to open up with them.
Just for council's information. So Leslie Harris, goes constantly to those meetings. I think they're once a month.
Yeah, she actually sits on the executive board.
Oh, wonderful.
Board. I went to the last one 2 weeks ago with her, so I could meet people and find out what was going on there as well. So there's a luncheon type deal, and so council is all welcome to come.
I didn't know if we were allowed to go to
Oh, yeah,
those
definitely.
meetings or not.
Okay, so I have a little bit more to add to that because I agree with her. I think I can't make it to a luncheon. I work during the day. And so I guess like I like her suggestion of maybe creating some sort of a space where maybe during a council meeting, we have the ability to be able to meet with the Chamber
Or a
of Commerce.
workshop, have them come and
Yeah.
present and talk.
Because one of the things that I had on here is one of my little goals that I wrote down is and this may also kind of partner up with the last one, the community engagement vision, which I have some other things for that too. But I was looking at Maple Valley, and Maple Valley has really high community engagement. And so was talking with some folks about like their fishing derby that they did and their tree lighting ceremony and their bike derby and their triathlon. And I was asking like who planned and financially sourced this? Who planned and financially sourced this? As it's not always the city, they actually have really strong partnerships with their chamber, really strong partnerships where the chamber is, like they plan the fishing derby. They're the ones that funded and planned the fishing derby, along with the Rotary, and they're working together as these groups, with the city, the chamber, the Rotary. And I know we don't have a very large Rotary, so there's that also. But and then like they'll work with the police department, and their explorers, for example, to provide bodies on the ground with making sure that parking is going good and that kind of stuff. So we're like missing that.
Yep.
And so I'm just wondering if there's a way for us to have I don't know, like more than just like, hey, I saw you at a luncheon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, because the mayor's going to the chamber meetings right now. I definitely hear that we should invite the chamber in to a council workshop, and have them come in and we can say howdy to the new council, right? We could also maybe, appoint an official liaison from the council's perspective to be, the chamber conduit. I know the mayor goes a lot and we have a staff member on there, but if another council member has interest in doing that, that'd be great, or
Like to.
whatever, that'd
Is
be
it
fantastic.
possible then,
Have a new
instead of
president.
reinventing a wheel, for us to, I'm thinking of the SMART
Sure.
acronym.
You just hate this, don't you? We're going to circle back on that.
Yeah.
I know you're a
You don't want to
millennial.
ask my opinions on it. Anyway, but in regards to that, like, is there a way that representatives can maybe talk with, like,
Mhm.
that chamber with the chamber in Maple Valley, and what are they doing?
yeah, yeah.
Like when they did the
That'd be
Christmas tree
awesome.
lighting, the chamber hosted a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
thing with the businesses by the tree, and
Yeah. Those relationships are critical, and I don't know if but our Bonnie Lake Chamber used to be, the one that put on Bonnie Lake Days, basically, right? It used to be in the parking lot, Lake Taps, whatever it was at that point. Then, it disappeared. The city had to pick it up. So, but getting the better relationships with the chamber is key, right? And are we capturing that with that first statement in there? Or do you need to specifically change anything on that we wanted to, or because there's a second
I
one,
think it needs to be more specific.
the second statement there, continued relationship with the Chamber of Commerce for economic development purposes, including retail business traction, expansion, and retention, right?
Yeah, but that has to do with businesses. That doesn't necessarily have to do with them being in community.
Yeah, we need
That's
to add
different. That is a different
community
goal.
aspect.
So can you
Sure.
just add,
Yeah.
and community events or something to that?
Yeah.
Sentence?
Right.
The
Community events.
suggestion to have the tree lighting out at the, at the city center, which is basically Midtown, and being able to have a tree out there amongst all of the community,
Mhm.
and maybe even have a week-long celebration, that can bring the community into the business area, and then the business areas can sell,
Right, definitely.
packaged foods
Mhm.
to people walking by, waiting for the mayor to light the Christmas tree.
Mhm.
Well,
But
Nice.
I guess my one question is what we're talking about now, would that fall more under the community engagement vision than the economic vision?
I was wondering.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
thinking
too.
that what we're talking about right now falls more under that portion,
Why don't we do that
just the
then?
economic portion.
Yeah, because I just don't want that vision to get lost
Mhm.
right there.
Exactly, yeah. That's excellent. So we'll save that one, put it in down there when we get there.
Mhm.
Is that the first one or the second one?
In community engagement. It's the
I
last one.
apologize. I'm really not following this.
So the first one is okay, right? They expand our upon relationship, business, community involvement, Bonnie Lake Days, beauty, that one's okay.
Then continue our relationship with the Chamber of Commerce for economic development purposes, including retail business attraction, expansion, and retention. So that would go under
No,
that.
Oh, that would stay there.
Stay there?
And you
That
Okay.
would stay there.
Okay.
And then instead of adding on to that, Councilmember Davis is suggesting that we put a specific
In
Chamber
community
of
engagement.
Commerce interactions with the community on the
Oh, okay,
bottom.
like the.
Does that?
It's going to go in community
Uh,
engagement.
Way at the bottom, community engagement vision.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
And the last one currently in the Economic Development Division is to implement adopted strategic plan for local economic development. I don't know.
Very big.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if that needs to be in there as a separate item or if it's,
I mean, it's pretty broad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not smart.
Yeah, definitely.
What's our adopted strategic plan like?
Do
Right?
we just leave that one there for now and move to the next one?
Consider it done and we'll move along. Does anybody have any?
Like
Go ahead.
adopt a specific strategic plan, like, okay, let's narrow this down.
You want to work on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
The thing rather than the whole thing, because then if.
So
we
it's
work
not
on
broad,
one,
we just
yeah.
simplify it and make it specific.
What's the most important piece of the strategic plan to get
Right.
done first, kind of thing?
Could we put implement adopted strategic plan for prioritized local economic development? Because you're saying you want to prioritize it. Does that even matter?
I don't know.
What's the wording? I
I'm
don't.
trying to see if it's not captured in one of the top two that you've already done there, right? Continued relationship. I don't know.
Maybe just get rid of that because that's all part of that. These are more specific, having a business community and then also working with the Chamber of Commerce.
Mhm.
So that's basically adopting a strategic plan. So we can probably just get rid of that one.
But I don't think,
Move
I think the
staff up.
two things above it
Mhm.
are specific, yes. But that third option, the reason why it's different is because the first two bullets or the first two boxes
Mhm.
aren't strategic in nature. There's not a written plan in
Mm.
place.
Sure. Mhm.
And so I think that's why there's a third option there saying we need some sort of plan, a written plan, instead of just saying, oh, we want to work with the chamber,
Mhm.
or we want to bring businesses in. I think the third option is saying how.
Right.
Am I reading that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Streamlining
I think we just keep that in there
things. Yeah.
and then check if there's a strategic plan being formed.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, the strategic plan could be to streamline procedures and policies, especially when it comes to businesses.
Yeah, those are strategies to implement
Yeah.
that, right? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
I think everything should be at the fingertips. We are an electronic community or world now. So anytime we have a question, we should be able to go within a couple of clicks and get our answers, especially when it comes to, permitting or, what I need to, what do I need to start a business? How much is it
I
going to
know what
cost
you're
me
thinking.
to start a business
Yeah.
in Bonnie Lake? And
That is a
and
different bullet,
where's my little
what
check?
she's saying.
Okay.
My little check.
Mhm.
I need a check box, check, check, check. Got it all done. Great. Now I can start my business and I know how much it's going to cost and what permits I need to apply for to start with section A. And then there's a section B and a section C. And then guess what? There's no
mean-
D, you're done. You get to move forward.
That's something we've been talking about for a couple of years now. And so is that something we want to put in there under economic development vision is
Strategic.
streamlining businesses' ability to be in Bonnie Lake? Because that's that's been a lot of conversation.
How do we word it? Sort of an addition to that?
How do we take all the brains out of Chris Lear and
Put it
them
in
on
a box.
paper, and make a paper? I know Jason
it's not
has
so
worked really
stressful.
hard with Chris on developing things like how can we take all of that and put that in a piece of paper and say, here, as a business that wants to start in Bonnie Lake, here's how you do it.
I really think it's two different issues, right? Chris is a lot of raw land development, right? Which has a whole host of different issues. And typically there's a whole host of consultants that come along to support those issues, right? I think the other side is the tenant space over in Safeway is empty and I want to move my dog grooming business in. And I think that's a different strategy. And I think most of the time, the ones that we struggle with the hardest, I think, are those, because what happens is the business owner is really excited and they sign the lease with the landlord and they just start working in the building and we find out about it after the fact and it starts off on the bad foot. How do we get out and ahead of that, I think, is the question. So that people know that before they sign the lease, they come and talk with us so they understand what they will and won't be up against. And I don't know how we do that, but I think that's a different question. I think both are important, but I think the strategies for each are different.
What if for the point then we wrote something like create clarity in the process for businesses, like that to be a specific thing that we ask for?
Checklist. Streamlining.
I mean, that's a complaint of I've
yeah.
had these conversations.
Streamline word
Yeah.
probably helps out, right? Some streamlining, something.
Like, how do we
trying to
get,
word
how
it.
do we get to yes?
And I think part of it
Can you
too
hear-
would be, how do we create
Oh,
education?
yeah, there you go.
Oh, hi, Dan.
Member Roach is on.
Councilmember Roach is there. We're discussing this. Go ahead.
Hello.
Good, you can hear me, huh?
Yes.
We can.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the small business there too, the clarity is good, but also the certainty, because a lot of what happens, whether it's business or shorelines or whatever, it's like, yeah, you can do this, here's your path, and then you start getting on that path, and it's like, oh, wait a second, now you need this, and well, is there any certainty? No, but you can pay the fee and then we can find out.
Mm.
So I would say certainty is huge when you're trying to start a business and every dollar counts.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to word that into a box kind of thing for
Create
some kind
clarity
of,
and certainty in the process for businesses, streamline.
Do you want us to play with some language and bring it back to you?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
yeah.
I'm sure you know what we want.
I get,
I know you know what we
Yeah.
want.
and I will say part of the challenge we have with creating certainty is
It's a two-way street.
it's a two-way street. If I say something at the counter that's completely wrong,
Yeah.
that person they make a decision relying on that.
Yeah.
They have the chance to rely on that information.
Yeah.
I create that relationship.
Uh-huh.
So we have to balance protecting the city and also providing information. So it's a delicate balance that we have to walk, but I think we can work on some,
You're the man that will come up with the.
we can work on some language.
Yeah.
To address, I think, Councilmember Hubler's raw land development approach and also Councilmember Fullerton's tenant improvement. I just want to open up a business in this existing spot. I think they're both important. I think we can come up with language for both.
Thank you.
Anything else in the economic development division kind of area? Vision on each. Parks and Recs in green space vision. Expand cities, parks and recs, and open space. Do we actually do that anymore?
Would that be part of like annexing properties that could be developed into parks? Like Reed property, because that would have to, in order to expand the Reed property, essentially, we needed to figure out a way to annex it into the city so that it could be utilized for the purpose that like MRAC was talking about. So that would be expanding open spaces, and there might be other spaces that we find that could be turned into parks as well down the line.
And I would say the 6 bullet points there on the other side of the column are pretty much done or will be done at the end of the year.
Thank you,
We
Jason.
can,
I
we
was
can,
just gonna-
we can go through and update all these.
Okay, so we
You can
can
get us a new bullet.
put a check on that and move on.
So far, I don't know. Huh? Yeah,
Yeah, in reading, when I was reading through the Parks, Rec, and Green Space vision statement, one of the things that stuck out to me was a multipurpose community center.
Mhm.
And in looking at just all of the designs that, you know, you've been presenting to us, which are just, they're beautiful. And I know they cost lots of money. So just know that I take that with a grain of salt. But The only thing that I felt like wasn't there, I guess, was like some sort of a community center. Like, is there a plan then? If we put it in our vision statement, is there a plan where it's in there?
Yeah, right now, Midtown Park had shown a community center that would be a community center / senior center that had like gym space. When we
That
brought,
wasn't the one with the swimming pool.
that was a separate building. So there was
Okay.
2 buildings.
That was a pad.
There was a pad for the
Yeah.
swimming pool and then a community center for the city. One of the comments we got back on Midtown Park was that you wanted more sports fields. So we talked with the CDC committee, and we've got a contract amendment with the plan, and we're updating it to actually add a true kind of community center like this describes in the downtown area. And that would allow us to add more sports fields and create a sports complex at Midtown Park and move those community center attributes over here to kind of where the green garage is in the downtown area. And that plan will be coming forth to the CDC and the council here in the next couple weeks.
Question about that then. If there is going to be some sort of multipurpose community center, again, in vision, not in financial implementation. Is there going to, okay, I'm trying to envision, like, because these kinds of centers tend to be like hubs for the community.
Mhm.
And so I know all the areas around here that are owned by the city. Is that really a large enough space for parking and things like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like coming up into this little bottleneck area here and
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we've looked at it with our consultants and we've actually got a pretty nice design that would, in concept, allow us to close down the street between the Justice Municipal Center and across the street to create kind of what you do in downtown Puyallup when they close down Meridian. We have a smaller street to do, but we would have enough, we're looking at enough parking for both the community center and the things that we need down there. There's a lot of land over there. Chief was surprised too.
there is a lot of land
there
over
is.
there, but I don't know that accessibility is really the best when there's a lot of traffic happening
Mhm.
in that area. It's so congested.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting ideas, right? So that we should look at. We sat down with one of the developers and it was pretty exciting that, a private entity was looking at doing some stuff in the area. So we'll see what comes about with that stuff.
Is that something we want to add then because that's not one of the things on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How do we word
It's
because
in the vision. It's
Yeah,
not
let's add
one of
that
the
to the,
things.
to
Mhm.
that, the second one, development phase and prioritized park improvement plan for Midtown Park, including community center. So add the downtown area to that section, to that box.
right.
Okay.
Agreed, yes.
Very good.
Yeah. So we're dropping the first one out or not?
Yes,
Yeah, we can drop the first
we already,
one, expand
check.
cities, parks and yeah.
the whole thing on there is done, Jason?
All the bullet points are.
All of those on the right.
What I would say is probably expand the city's parks and open space to develop the city's parks and open
Okay.
space
Okay.
as the goal. And then we'll begin to identify implementation measures off of
Yeah,
that.
that would be.
And that's where we could add the Allen York boat trailer parking bullet point.
Right.
Correct.
Awesome. That'll be our.
And then I have one I'd like to add into the Parks and Rec Department, and it has to do with the newly $150,000 that we're budgeting in for the Parks and Rec Department. I think we need to have something in here where we're getting something from the Parks and Rec Department that shows that they're using that allocated funds efficiently and maximizing the potential on that $150,000. So some type of way to get the reports for the events that are being put, what's the participation rates and the camps and the things like that. And so are we utilizing their full potential? And then also what type of marketing or comprehensive plan do we have going forward to kind of help make sure we're getting the word out for all of the events that are happening in the city? So that's one of the things that
On that, I think I would just maybe throw as a goal then to efficiently run the Parks and Recs Department essentially, and then you can have the bullet points of those things that, council will follow up on. Right, I think that would make it probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like
And possibly add the word expand to it, Mayor.
Yep.
It's like, that's what I've heard from the council is they want to expand the program.
Yep.
I feel like we're using Parks and Rec simultaneously, where I feel like it's not Parks and Rec. Our parks feel like they're completely separate. It's recreation and events is kind of what I feel like we're truly talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, our parks don't fall in the same category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Right, yeah.
Could we add that?
The definition
a-
for recreation and events, and then parks are separate
Yeah, because we don't have a vision.
recreation.
It actually is under that whole vision. If you read it, it says recreational programs and leisure activities are available to meet diverse interests of all age groups, multi-purpose community center, blah, blah, blah. So it's lumped under one vision. You can certainly separate into two visions, or you can keep it under one vision, knowing that obviously parks is different than recreation.
Maybe we
You just
should
have a
keep
separate
it
box.
well, I mean,
Yeah, because I see the definition of that, right? Because parks and open space are kind of physical places or what have you. And parks and rec is like a service and stuff that goes on top of possibly using.
parks, recreation and events like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking, Carrie?
Yeah.
Kind of almost leave.
I think you could leave it in under the Parks, Recreation and Green Space, but you just have a separate box
The white
for
box?
the recreation aspect of it. So there's the parks, box, and then there's a recreation box.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want something worded
Yeah.
in there that says that, now that we've made the decision to allocate that money, that it's being used effectively.
Yeah. And I think the bullet points hopefully could hit
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Is there a way for them to even track that? Is there an electronic system for them to track that?
All of the programs in the recreation
Oh, yeah.
department.
But how do they,
So-
because they haven't been able to get the numbers, right?
Well, that's one of the
We have
things that
numbers.
needs to be worked on is like, especially the
For
payment system, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They,
we
they
have
have
all the numbers.
It's difficult sometimes to get it or whatnot, but I think my understanding
it on
is the
paper?
new
Mhm.
programs.
Yeah, I know, right? Every
Hours of
single
work
thing.
to try to compile that data.
Oh, tell me about it. It's wildly.
Would be easier if we have when we have a really good software program
Yeah.
that would allow people to pay
Sure.
online and
Sure,
then it could
yeah.
be designated.
Because they still
into
pay
what
not
department
online.
it-
Yeah, not,
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
that's why I think it needs to be in the
Word.
vision.
Yeah.
It's because we definitely need to move that system forward. I mean, having a Parks and Rec department where you have to send in a physical check and not be able to pay
Yeah.
online these days is
Yeah.
very obsolete. So
Yeah, he's working on that, I know.
Yes.
So what is the general cost of some sort of software that could be more helpful, not just in people paying for parks and recreation, but for data to be able?
Well, the city's had one for 6 years.
Oh,
It has not been implemented by recreation.
this
There you
is-
so should we put that as one of the goals here?
Yeah,
that
however you
Yeah,
want
so-
to word it.
Is it
and-
because training is needed?
They've been trained twice.
Oh,
See, remember, we're in our lane, right? So wait, I hear us like veering out of our lane slightly, but not really, right? There's that nuance, right?
Yeah.
That's a
think
policy
goal.
decision,
We
right?
have the cost of the program already
me.
covered, so we have to make sure why is it not being
Exactly.
utilized.
Exactly.
Sorry, Sherry, interrupted.
No, that's fine. I think that's a great goal, Deputy Mayor. I think the goal there would be something along lines of utilize available software
Right.
to implement online payments and better tracking.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I have been in meetings where they attempt to train me on some sort of software. And like, for example, we just implemented a new software system this year for our teachers. And we had to go through like 4 to 5 trainings. And it's still, we don't know the system completely.
Mhm.
And so I just wonder if because I know you think in IT, right? Whereas like most people don't. And so I just wonder what the problem is, right? Is there a way to find out?
So the city, it wasn't like, hey, here's your half an hour of training. The city paid to have an implementation consultant from the software vendor
Yeah, we had that too.
come out and do multiple days,
Mm-hmm.
step by step, to set up and to work on the system multiple times. So we did that initially and it fell through the cracks. About 2 years ago, we had them come out again for close to 80 hours worth of training. And it's fallen through the cracks again where they've, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, they had some staffing changes. And the reason for not going live was they didn't have time to put all the schedule into the software.
So it's not user friendly.
It is a recreation system is user friendly once you have it set up. Once you have built a Pee Wee soccer class. So you've built out the background of times and dates and locations. Once you've got all that built, then you've got it built once. It's very simple to copy, paste. I now have next year's. I didn't have to do hardly anything. Maybe I changed the number of students.
Yeah.
But it is
We did
very
set up some
complicated to set up initially.
Very,
And it is very time consuming because you are creating every class from
Right.
scratch initially.
Right.
If you do that class every year or every fall and spring,
Yeah.
it's much easier after that.
This is literally what we're dealing with at my work right now. Yep.
Gwen,
Do they
jump in.
have an 800 number or, like a support hotline?
City does pay
people
for
can-
support every year.
All that kind of stuff. You know, it's all those implementation issues, right? From a council perspective, we want a Parks and Rec program to be accessible and easily payment online with, for our goals, right? There's a lot of details behind it because, you know, a lot of staffing stuff down there with
Yeah.
like fit for purpose and the way it works.
Staying in the lane.
Yeah, but I think then also, and to go along those lines, if it does take hours up front, that's something that could be brought forth to the council that says, hey, I need to bring in a person temporary to get the system up and running, then we can put that to a vote and make that happen, but that has to be
Is
brought
that
to
real?
us.
You know how to do it, don't you?
What we have to be careful is if you bring in someone to help set up a system, that person leaves and now you're in the same boat again.
Yeah, now they know.
You need to, if that's in the concept, you need to have someone to come in to help with the day-to-day function.
Mhm.
So your staff are able to have the knowledge and be able to implement this. So in 3 months, when it's time to set up the next quarter,
Yeah.
they've retained that knowledge. It's not the
Totally.
person who just walked out the door because, hey, I did it for the quarter. But I think, I'm quite sure, and I can't speak for recreation, but they would love to have the added support to be able to dedicate the time required to get something up and running. Because you're right, they don't have time because they're too busy dealing with all the
Right.
paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we should, you know, for a goal maybe there, because we have our, right, develop a phase priority plan, yada, yada, for Midtown, we could have a develop an electronically accessible, mobile ready program for the public to access Parks and Recs services.
You're talking about a totally different software?
No,
Utilize the software that we have.
whatever's staff.
I
and
think what Chuck is
administration
saying
promote.
is that the staff is the ones that need the support,
Well,
be able to put
Yes.
systems in.
There's a gigantic argument in the background, right? There's
not picking up what you're
there's a
putting down.
lot of details behind this.
When we switch to Tyler,
Uh-huh.
is this, will that,
This is a Tyler product already.
it is,
So
okay.
This is Tyler Parks and Rec is what
Yeah.
this was actually what we asked the school district to buy when the city took over recreation, and they
Didn't.
paid initially for this software
Mhm.
back on
Yeah.
day one. We've been paying support ever since, and we've paid to have Tyler train staff on how to set up the recreation program. Now twice. But that's what's happened has happened. If you want the goal to be recreation has a mobile friendly online payment processing, that's the goal that we should add.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and then the question on that, with the payment processing software, does that allow us to track participation and
Right.
get numbers back to help us understand?
That's
That's not on
the
paper.
reporting. That,
Somewhat.
yes. is part of it.
That is part of it.
Yes.
Somewhat.
So instead of having to come through all my registration pieces of paper to figure out who did what.
Yeah.
It's pull a class list.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that we need to find out if some of these events or camps and things are effective or if they need to be changed and updated. I think that's a
Oh, yeah.
very important goal for us to get done.
Yeah, that's good. Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want to play devil's advocate here, though. In these kinds of implementation with software, there was always, like being told, like, you need to get this put in, you need to like figure this out. And our complaint as teachers was always like, when do we have the time to do that?
Right.
Because we do not.
Yep.
But we would like to move forward, in doing it. So I don't know what else what we can do.
But I think
to
that's
support
also
that.
Do
where it's
we
presented
need,
to spend time.
like a specific staff member that is all they do is set up the Parks and Rec
But he's saying like you,
department, accounts payables and receivables for the online
Yeah.
program, or
we had the same problem as teachers, like us individual teachers had to use the software ourselves
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Use is the only way you're really
Yeah.
gonna learn it.
Yeah, and it was it was a painful process.
Yep. Well,
And I'm not saying that this program is easy from the get-go because it's a blank slate.
Okay.
You literally have to say, what are my facilities? What are my facility hours for each facility?
yeah.
What is a child?
Yeah.
Is it K through 12 or is it age 1 through 5? What is age 1? Is
Yeah.
that age 1 on
Dep-
January 1st
Deputy
or is
Mayor.
that December 31st? Those are all different
That
and those
sounds painful.
all have to
It is
be
very painful.
figured out.
Is there another software
Painful.
option that could?
There are
not be
many,
costly?
There are many, but they are all blank slates because none of them
Kind
are
of.
going to be Bonnie Lake.
Right.
I am bringing up a replacement for Eden very shortly.
Mm-hmm.
We have Eden.
Yep.
I don't want to spoil it,
is the
but that
Genesis-
is a huge migration and implementation task across the entire city. It is multiple
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
And
Yeah.
Tyler works with the finance software. The other softwares weren't.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
uh,
Kind of.
Deputy, Mayor, I think we understand, the city staff has to figure out how to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
I think that we understand the goal, so if you want to move forward, the staff will make it happen.
Right.
Perfect.
Exactly. Because I think it is an important goal for us. We have heard all the council say that, the online access, accessibility, mobile access, vision, all that is, can be achieved. But again, up to the mayor and administration to see if they can make it happen and what they need to make it happen. We're not the implementation people. The council's this is what we want to see people. We'll be putting that in our goals there, I take it, and under Parks and Rec green space vision. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, like, I noticed that when we had a council member position available,
Mhm.
I was driving outside of Costco and I saw this massive banner.
Uh-huh.
It had a QR code on it, so I
does.
could take a picture of that QR code and fill out an application. So what a great banner that is, that we could put wherever around the city that would have a QR code to take you directly to all of the activities that the city offers through the Parks and Recreation Department, and take them directly to accounts payable and receivable so that they can figure out on their phone how to pay for the activities that they want to put their kids in.
Right
So-
at the Costco light.
Yeah, right. Well, they're also at the top of the 410 when
You're
You're
people
going to be
are
sitting there
coming home
anyways.
from work, and somewhere past
past-
Dairy Queen when people are driving to work,
course.
they can go, oh, there's that sign again.
I
I
know.
don't know, something.
Mhm.
I think that was, I was like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Mhm.
Can't miss that.
Great
And
examples,
those
right?
poles are still there, so.
They're using it
QR
now.
codes are our
Mhm.
friend.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Definitely
just
good
learned how
ideas.
to use the QR
Is-
code, so.
Aaron, did you have anything?
That
We're
was
sticking
last
under
one for Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec? Anybody else for Parks and Rec area?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Moving along to our waters resource vision, water/sewer or whatever. We have the first one under pursue options to obtain additional water supply. We can probably tweak that one in reality. I don't know what we're thinking because we kind of already went through that. we've had extensive discussions when I was at CDC, and that's just not gonna happen. That's, see, from a perspective there. Maybe we
Then
want
we
to
need
change that to
we
the
need to
clean
figure out
water.
A way to get clean water. that
You know,
doesn't
pursue
have
options,
fluoride in it.
just exactly like it says, right? Pursue options for clean, how would we put that? Do we dare put non-fluoride? I hate to put,
I would just simply recommend under, instead of pursue, you know, there are still options out there for additional water supply. We do, you know, I don't know what those
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah.
But I think you could just say, maintain
oh, there you go. Yeah.
clean and healthy drinking water.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
And then we
Pursue
can
options
have
for
all
clean
of
and healthy
the
drinking water.
other,
Right.
Water that does not contain any additive.
Oh, yeah, but see, he was doing it with the clean and healthy water, and then that's that kind of interesting thing where you could capture non-fluoridated water underneath that goal, right?
Yeah, I know that there are many states and cities that are looking at lawsuits,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because of the Clean Drinking Water Act. So I think we could just make Tacoma Water aware of their, you know, what could possibly be coming their way as soon as their citizens figure out what's in their water.
Right.
They might want to change that. And that would be the least disruptive way to get clean water here. Otherwise, let's look at filters that would filter out and what the cost would be if it's like in the millions or hundreds of thousands or billions or whatever it's going to be.
yeah. And as, you know, as we talked last time, there's the PFAS testing that's coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nitrate issues from septic systems. So it's not just that one issue. So that's why I would recommend,
Pursue clean and pure water.
I would say,
Exactly. Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Clean and healthy water.
Healthy water. Yay.
They'll
Yes.
say fluoridated water.
Is there a way to get PFAS
Well.
out of the water?
I'm not going to even,
No, yet?
We don't.
Even
Good
know?
question.
That's a whole nother.
that's a whole other discussion. I was trying to give you some
I'm
words.
trying to look at the big picture. No.
I was trying to give you some words for the goal, and then we can figure out how to make the implementation.
You know what? Thank you.
Trying to be a visionary
Yes.
for you. Okay,
We
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I like that.
So we'll reboard that first one, yes?
Mhm.
Hearing that, okay, yeah, very good. And, you know, you can change your budgetary actions because we obviously did the comprehensive plan stuff previously. Second one on there is to continue to replace and upgrades existing city facilities to maximize the use of city-owned water. And that's kind of really almost the same type of a thing. That's what we're looking at there with that.
Mhm.
I don't know if it needs to be a separate one. It really doesn't need to be a separate one in my mind because part of that healthy and clean drinking water. I would think so.
The second one?
The second one.
The second one has to do with when I think of continue to replace and upgrade existing city facilities. I like that it's specific because a lot of what Ryan was telling us before had to do with,
Mhm.
you know,
The pump
why the water in Bonnie Lake is so nice.
Yeah, this has to also do with like replacing the mains,
Mhm.
right, steel
Yeah.
mains.
I feel like it's different.
I think I would, yeah, there might be a little difference. I think one is about the infrastructure
Person.
Mhm.
of your water system,
Yeah.
and the first one is about the source of your water.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
agreed.
Yeah. Maximize,
Thank you for that clarification.
facilities maximize use of city-owned water. Yeah, that'll work. Anybody want to tweak with that one?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Sewer service, our happy little place. Recognize sewer service vision is linked to annexation and Couga planning. They still call it Couga nowadays?
No,
They call it something else.
yeah. Um,
So we can update that.
yeah, I think this first one actually you would want to change completely. Because not all, there was a belief in the past that like the South Sewer Service area couldn't be provided sewer until it was annexed, which isn't necessarily true because it is our sewer service area
Oh,
and it's urban growth area, so you can provide service to it now
okay.
if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So ugh, trying to do this on the fly is hard.
Right, exactly. We just,
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. You're
that
good, good.
Really?
Thank
area
you.
needs to
Yeah.
get-
I think it would be something along of, provide, how we have clean and healthy drinking water, provide sewer services to the city sewer service area.
Mhm.
So update the first one, but keep the second one.
Yes.
Okay, question then.
Go ahead.
Just kind of curious. Are we just like ixnaying, like we're just not
Oh,
gonna ever
you should put it in
think
there.
about in the future a treatment
should.
facility? Like that's just not something we're gonna put there.
Well, I think we need a statement. In my mind, I'd definitely support some kind of
I mean, I don't want to put something in there that's
it's
just
not a like
realistic.
go work on it thing, but it's like a long-term,
To
you
have
know,
our own
right,
facility.
Or even
recognize however there's some flowery wording, right, that we need. Recognize the need for possible sewer options specific to the city.
Is it possible that to make it more specific, instead of just saying we would like to pursue sewage treatment,
Sure.
in a larger capacity in the future?
Oh,
What if we made it more specific in saying like, in the future, could there be some sort of, a connection between Sumner and Bonnie Lake where we're able to even expand their current system even
Exactly.
more? Right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
where,
all of them, right? Because working
Yeah.
with Tahali and Bonnie Lake and even, all of the regional sewer providers. So there's options for the future for expansion besides,
Yeah.
the sole like Sumner option. They all need to work together, everybody, even included Sumner.
yeah, so how would we
Smart that.
that?
Yeah. Continue to pursue regional options with what
Make
area
regional
providers?
With,
Right.
make regional connections with area providers of sewage treatment
Yeah, regional options.
to form future vision.
Yeah, to enable future supplies. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you-
How close are we yet? We throw enough words on the
Jason's way
floor.
better at the wording than we
Wordplay.
are.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of
We'll have some
water,
really great words when we come back.
completely
I
off the
believe it.
subject, not that sewer makes me thirsty, but about fresh drinking water, I'm wondering, do we have any bottled water anywhere? I drank my coffee, but that's making me thirsty.
I would offer you
Or
this.
do I need to go out to the drinking fountain? I don't
We
know.
have
if there's any
a
close
motion
available.
for a recess for 5 minutes. We can
Yeah,
find
5
drinks.
minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a bottle over there that she's willing
are you
to share
serious?
with me.
5 minutes isn't needed then.
No.
Yeah. Or whatever
Thank
you
you,
guys want to
Sadie.
do. You have the little mini bottle.
Yeah.
That suffice? Anybody else need a break? No.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
I'm
Sorry,
actually good.
thank you.
So good?
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
So we got the flowery wording and we're going to insert in the sewer service vision area for regional, like cooperative, whatever.
For future.
yeah.
Future.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other things that we need to add in the sewer service vision area?
No, I don't think so.
Now we go down to the weird ones, right? Centers vision, centers. I don't even know how we define that anymore because we go back and forth to that. Continue building identity in downtown. See, and that's like, really? Go ahead, Jason. Everybody jump in.
I might make a recommendation on this one that you just completely delete all this. And then we take any of the things about focusing growth in Midtown and downtown and put it in the growth vision up above.
Okay. Agreed.
Because I think this is just an offshoot
Uh-huh.
of that one,
Yeah.
and anything you say here
Yeah.
is going to go back and forth. And we know from your growth center or from
Mhm.
your discussion on the alternatives for the comprehensive plan, you chose scenario 2, which says that we should focus our residential and job growth in Midtown and downtown. And
That's why
we can write some
Nice.
policy, we can write something around that and send it back.
You can tell this is really his wheelhouse, right?
I think this one came out of planning specifically, so I'm like,
It's like all over it.
I
Love
think
it.
we can just, unless there's something specifically in here that caused concern, we can, but I think we could just merge it with the one above.
Go ahead, Councilman Bowell. Go ahead, jump in. Please go ahead.
Are we still trying to continue building identity in this downtown center here, or was our focus going to be in Midtown?
We don't know, right?
I think we put in the growth
Yeah,
part,
focus
like
for both.
to
that's
focus on both Midtown and the downtown core.
They're both properties we have available. How we use them, I don't know. Like I said, there's literally a person that would love to like do a bunch of work in this area right here that has like a fantastic vision. Whether or not that's it can be enabled or not is another story, right? You have Quadrant over there in the WSU piece that maybe can work with you or what it is, whoever it is now. Tarragon.
And this is
Old
speaking
school.
more, not just to the council, not to the city-owned properties, but what's called the downtown center, which includes the apartment complex, Renwood, the apartment complex across the street. And then Midtown is kind of all of that area up there that includes both the commercial and residential pieces.
Yeah, I guess, in thinking about like community focused things, I just don't know that I agree that this area is what that should be.
Mhm.
Just because of like,
Sure.
it's very hard to access.
The thought is that we've got this Justice Center here, we have the library there. So if we were to put a community center, we can possibly add a pool, we can have an upgraded kitchen, possibly even, go up and add more library space, a bigger library. We can have, the senior center brought over and make it bigger, better, and newer and more equipped for the seniors, which would be ADA approved. And so all of that, and then there would be plenty of parking
Yeah,
as
I know
well.
there's
So
parking, but I
around
just-
here.
It's a clog.
It can always be,
This
you know,
area is a
the
clog right
road
here.
can be expanded because
Is-
we're gonna have to
All
look
the
at the
little
traffic
roads are
impact
clogs.
and all that, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it would prevent people who are wanting to go to the community center, they can drive up the hill, go to the community center, and then they're not clogging up downtown. So once you get past Main Street, then, you're not clogging up with activities for the community center. You can have arts and crafts. It's kind of like, when we saw the library in
Yeah.
Spokane.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That was a very congested area, but they had underground parking. That was a massive
Yeah.
undertaking. It
Yeah.
was absolutely beautiful, very well organized. They
Mhm.
had the stage for,
I mean, you could
community
rent that place for
theater.
weddings.
You can rent it for weddings. Yeah, and they had the kitchen, so all of that stuff. It's kind of along those lines, but the thing is that we actually have somebody who's interested in taking on that so that it wouldn't necessarily be all on the city's back. And that's something that could be, if it's private, then that could be implemented, before the city could even think about a plan or a new study that we'd have to pay
Right.
for.
I know. Yeah, so I'm hearing the city vision section is gonna kind of go away. It's gonna be any needed pieces integrated in other points and.
Well, it would go back
The
up
growth.
to the
Yeah.
growth.
economic growth,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Transportation vision, that's an interesting one, huh? Right? We moving on to that one?
I love the continue to fill gaps in the sidewalk.
Yes.
Tom was
Yeah.
very passionate about that, and I still think, yeah, our sidewalks are they're wonky.
So,
Yeah. Davis had a.
yeah, and I had something on that in one of my goals too, but I've had it more under the public safety aspect also. So I don't know, we have transportation and it's fall in the public safety, which is the next one also, and
Oh.
was to improve pedestrian safety and accessibility by constructing sidewalks in the highest need areas. I know that, Jason, we have a plan kind of in place, and you said there's some ways to kind of look at some data to see where those areas are, and I'd like to
Yeah.
put some timeframes on
That
some of those.
non-mobility plan piece or whatever it is.
Yeah, as part of the update, the comprehensive plan, there's already a prioritization matrix in there, but will be being updated this year, and that will come to council where they get to
Yeah.
basically identify what where priorities are,
CDC.
and then that will kick out a kind of a prioritized list of where we should be adding the sidewalks based on current improvements, a bunch of different things. But
'Cause we have that built now.
we do, and we'll be
We
updating it
implemented
this
part of
year.
it or what have you. Yes. CDC is a great committee to work on that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a good for us to kind of start the process. And then once we have those needs, kick it back to budget and let them figure out
Right.
when we can start them.
Yeah. And that's hopefully when it goes through whatever staff and committee and everything, one of those that's easy to really measure and come back and keep, tabs on, because we can see if it actually gets done. That's,
I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but maybe you throw on sidewalk and lighting.
oh, there you go. Right.
That
Yeah,
initiative.
there you go. Yeah.
That by the
Yeah.
high school? Oh,
Depends on where you put the sidewalk at. Are we keeping the sidewalk underneath the transportation, or does it go
I
under
thought that
public
was a
safety?
very weird spot to put.
Yeah, I
Really?
think it's more of
Really?
Could be
It-
public
really?
safety.
Yeah, get rid
Really?
of transportation and just put that under public
Huh,
safety, because it
interesting.
really is.
Improve
We
in-
have that road though,
Really?
that we
Huh.
got the grant for.
Huh. Hmm.
Yeah,
Buckley Highway and Angeline Road,
It-
where we're gonna put the.
Yeah, it
possibly
is.
The roundabout.
I think it's just the planner people, I think, like have a,
Yeah, the-
because it's whatever,
Needs to be
right?
called
That would be
something other than
transportation.
They claim that walking is transportation.
It is, it's moving. right?
Walkability vision.
I think it would be mobility.
Oh,
Mobility.
mobility.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, it's.
Because it's more than just, it's more, it should be the mobility vision because it's.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Can we do that?
Mhm.
Can we change it from the word transportation to mobility? Then we can capture lots of people in there.
I have a question.
Does that work? Go ahead. Yeah.
On, under transportation vision,
Mobility now.
Mobility vision.
okay, sorry, but the sentence I'm about to say has to do with transportation. In the last sentence, it does bother me a bit. Public transit,
Oh,
let's just say public transit options are available to meet the diverse needs of the community. I know that,
that's
I don't have a desire to extend, public transit, through Bonnie Lake. And so I feel like if we
Really?
put that, yeah.
I've heard lots of council members express very much a need for it, so.
Oh,
that's-
interesting.
Right?
Well, in talking, with my husband, who
What
is a
year was
police
that?
officer.
Oh, months and weeks ago,
Oh,
right?
really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I must have not been there.
There's I would say one of your fellow seatmates would be like, yeah, we need that.
In talking with my husband, who is a police officer and knows all about public transportation and end of lines and things like that, it really would present, it would bring some problems to the city
Mhm.
if you bring public transportation that comes further like into the
Oh,
city.
yeah.
Because I feel like most of the people that are using public transportation, use, what do you call that? The park and ride, at the top of the
Sure.
hill, because
Mhm.
the majority of them are driving outside of the city because they live in the city for a specific reason. I also I wasn't really fond of the overall vision as well. There was just some things in there that I thought felt flowery, but not intentional.
It is good about the public transit piece though, because that is a great discussion point, because you can spend a lot of time and effort trying to make that happen. At one point in time, Bonnie Lake was served by the Pierce Transit Agency, right?
Yeah.
And then we kind of discovered that they weren't providing very much service, and there was a bunch of stuff in there. Our former mayor was actually on their board at one point, and they weren't providing us hardly anything at all. So the taxpayers had to pay them a lot of money via sales tax. So we kind of dropped that out, and then good luck. It's a high bar to get public transit here again. There are some interesting options with different services, but
Well, I think that's what also makes it so important that we have a strong sidewalk system, and so people can get from the neighborhoods to the park and ride area, via walking or bike or other ways. Instead of having the transit system go to them, they can make it there. Obviously, it's not a large area, within a few miles you can be to the public transit at the park and ride. But
I'd be more than happy to line it out myself. Not that I don't want that option in the future and can't see that in the future, but I would not want staff to spend a lot of time and effort to work on something that unless it really falls in their lap. And I don't know. I don't know where the rest of the council is. I don't care. I hear we don't like public transit options, and I don't know if it's
I don't think it's that we don't like public transit. I think it's the fact that, like you said, the service wasn't highly provided into the neighborhood, so we might be more effective to try to make sure we have a system in place of sidewalks to get people to the public transit And I think that's one of the reasons why in our growth plans, the Midtown area is the one that's being, highly developed out because that's easier for people to access the public transit from those areas.
Yeah, I don't know. So Councilmember Baldwin, do you want to suggest that we actually line it out? Or are we leaving it, or are we, because that's kind of thinking around with the mobility
If it's
vision?
just me, that's fine. But I just,
Make a motion to line it out for now.
Oh, this is your opportunity to get it out of
I
there.
haven't really heard of us really just sitting down and going, oh yeah, let's get buses in here.
Right.
but last
And
year, I
We'll
sat
never
on,
get light rail. Yeah.
I sat on one of the meetings and there was a discussion where I had to shoot down a thought process that was going with expanding
Right.
public transit.
Because you
That was
could,
just last year.
we could pursue that. Clearly, you can go back.
That was with CDC maybe, or was that on finance? Anyway, I sat on one of the committees and that was a very surprising conversation.
It was probably because you used to chair the finance committee one, or was it CDC?
No, I would just chair public safety. Yeah. I mean, if you're saying that it's never a possibility, I just thought it was.
No, there's never a never, right? It's just remote.
Low
and-
probability.
Right.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of.
Then we can leave it there if you
barriers.
guys want to.
Yeah.
What does staff think?
They don't want anything extra to work on.
All I will say is when we did all the surveys for the comp plan, public transit always comes up close to the top of the list from
It does.
the general public.
Yeah, it does.
Mm.
Which
But
is
do they
interesting.
know what it adds?
Yeah, it's one of those
You have to
open-ended
give
questions.
people a full vision.
I know.
I'm just,
Before they make a
yeah, I can just report on what, I can't get into what they know or what they thought or what
Yeah.
they envision. I just know that it's something that comes to the top of the list. Also, when we talk with the schools, when we do the outreach at the schools,
Oh, yeah.
is the lack of transit.
Oh, yeah.
They always bring that up as an issue, the high school kids, if they don't drive, because they can't get anywhere. So those are the two things I've heard from the public.
Yeah, that's kind of the things I've heard too, is our students don't have a way to get to a job.
Right.
Because they don't have a car to get to a job and they don't have a way to
Yep.
make money. So then and we don't have enough sidewalks and safe roads for them to walk or ride a bike. Like from, where I live to get anywhere, there's not a single sidewalk.
Yeah. Road if I was on a bicycle.
So it does add some other issues too. So if you become a transit corridor or whatnot, and you have buses and all these other things to move people around, with that comes other added density issues to the city as well. So
Yeah.
something to think about if you're doing that and all of a sudden, hey, now just like Sumner, we're gonna have to put our density at X. And we want to keep the small town feel of Bonnie Lake. Well, there's a pluses and minuses, right?
I think for me, it's such a long-term type of vision, which is nice in a way, but it's interesting that we can just drop that last sentence in there. And then this is only a 2-year vision because in 2 years, the next council can say, oh my gosh, we need these buses so much. We need to work on that. And it'll make them happy. And we'll be happy because we dropped the bus thing out, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if you're, because it's just simply not going to
Yeah.
happen, in my opinion.
Can I add one? I don't know if
Go ahead.
if we're allowed to add things on the
Sure.
bullet point
Oh, yeah,
side, but
definitely, yeah.
on the improve, the interconnectivity, it says fill gaps between sidewalks networks, but also about building out the trail system,
Mm.
as a bullet point under that also.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because that's in the
Mobility,
interconnectivity.
yeah, that would be the-
Mhm, Yeah,
Trails, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's good. We can do that one.
Mhm.
So plus or minus, do we want to drop that last public transit section?
Maybe I can offer a compromise.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I love
We
that.
drop public transit or non-traditional, and we just leave it at mobility options are available to meet the diverse needs of the community.
Yeah,
There you
'cause
go.
there's multiple options.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that could be car pools, that could be van pools,
Yeah.
that could be
yeah,
transit.
exactly.
We were
yeah.
talking about.
We could talk about the specifics
Yeah.
later, but that would allow us to
Right.
talk about mobility options broadly in a
Sure.
vision statement.
Yay.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Excellent. Look at this guy. Love that guy.
Me too.
We should hire that guy. Anyways. Public safety vision. Yeah, exactly. Public safety vision. We're moving on to that one then. It is, I don't know. Right. This minute, see, and this is, well, it's just a fantastic, yeah, right? Good example, right? Critical example, one we added last time was very popular and everybody thought we should do it and we've done absolutely nothing on it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So from the council's perspective, are we still going to pursue that option there? Highly recommended by our existing mayor now. So be aware if you want to drop that out of your.
So, because as far as I know, Chief has Pierce County Jail actually started taking residents? Or are we still having to pay SCORE and Enumclaw and Buckley, like?
Thank you, John. You ready for this? Here we go. You're doing a great job over there. Pierce County has always taken our felons for free. Any of our misdemeanors, which is generally what our court does, we still pay Pierce County just like we pay Enumclaw. So we actually contract out with other people, not because Pierce County won't take them, but because of the expense. So we look at 4 different vendors right now based off the level of maybe mental health issues going on or medical, and we ship them around to different locations based off of that. So Pierce County is very much taking anyone that we bring it, just like any other jail at this point in time.
Yeah.
So that's changed from before because that was not the case.
That was not the case. A lot of that was during COVID and also when they were suffering from a real staffing shortage. So they're back up. They've got their pods open. We're not having a problem getting people booked in.
Okay.
Now they may book them in and do an administrative booking for, a low level shoplift or something and release them out the door with a court date, but we're able to book them in, fingerprint, photograph. That'd be very similar to what we would do in Enumclaw as well.
Is this still a viable thing? Is that what it is? This,
Yeah. So this isn't necessarily that, hey, we have to create a jail or anything. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of options.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, I had some conversations with, I can't remember her name, but she was a commander of the SCORE jail right before COVID. And we were talking about an opportunity to essentially take over the INS facility that's in the Port of Tacoma. The state is going to basically not allow that to continue. And so it's basically space that's already built as a jail. And so our conversation was, would SCORE like to create an annex in Pierce County?
Yeah, there you go.
Which would be an excellent option. And they were all for it. And then COVID happened. So we kind of ran into some issues there, but we were moving forward in a positive way before COVID, just so you know.
I want to just add to, just for the other council members as well, is in regards to the SCORE jail, in case you're not aware, but it really is quite a deterrent to criminals. They don't want to go to SCORE jail because of the way that they run things over there. And so, yeah. And so instead of just like what he was talking about where, the other jails, they kind of like, okay, here's your date. SCORE does not do that. And so there's more accountability at that jail. And so I could see kind of what your vision is, for that.
I'm here and keeping that one. Yep. Okay. Second item, develop the 800 megahertz partnership. Didn't we do all this already? Or I don't know if we got anything in there.
I don't
Yes,
know
we
what that
did.
means.
I don't know if it's all the
Nuance.
cost has been recouped or whatnot, but yeah, it's
As good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Right now. So we'll drop that one and then we'll update our emergency plan. We hired somebody to do all this stuff for us. That's probably been done.
And we have finalized those plans.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
update that then.
Let's delete
Okay.
because it's done. Right? Yeah. Go ahead.
In the public safety vision, because the fire department is going to be moving very soon, and so is part of that public safety vision, would that be to remodel and revamp the public safety building?
great question.
There is a thing there. That's, I agree.
Possibly add a few more cells in there, maybe
Well,
even
yeah,
if we need
those are
them.
bad
Also,
Yeah, that's.
So there's been an internal staff consisting of Chuck, myself, Lance, Todd from my department, Chief, and the courts, trying to figure out kind of what the future of that building looks like.
Yep.
And the part of where it's leaning right now is actually trying to relocate the courts
Mhm.
over to part of that space so that it operates as kind of a justice center. And the prosecutor's office freeing up space in this building for other
Yep.
things like the Historical Society, like the chamber, like council members being able to have one or two, spaces where they can meet with people. And so right now we're looking at moving more of
Yeah.
the court system over and how that would function. And that is going to impact kind of how we have that downtown laid out area, because we're going to need to do some parking, but we're working on that. And we're actually making a field trip to Tequila next week to see how they do a combined justice center.
It's beautiful.
Google Maps.
So we'll have more, I guess, in the future. We're still working through that right now.
So is the emergency planning department, I forget what we call that, the EMS, but are we going to be putting that in the public safety building as well? And
EOC, the
yeah,
Emergency Operations
yes.
Center.
Yeah, and then also, because I don't remember when it happened, but Regina,
Yeah.
she got us that beautiful generator.
Mm-hmm.
And is that should be going to the public safety, right?
Yeah, we just got 90% plans on that. So that should be coming out pretty soon to get done. And then, part of it would be a space that would double both as the police training room and then also the emergency operations center, which is typically how it's done in jurisdictions. And so we're trying to identify a space that's large enough for both, meets all the court needs, meets the prosecutor's needs. We had an hour and a half long meeting today. So more to come on that one. We're trying to figure out internally how we could divide that space up without trying to go out and hire somebody. We're doing it ourselves internally, and
Great.
so far it's working.
Yeah.
So something like come up with a plan for a
Right.
justice center.
Yeah, reviewing the future public safety building, whatever, yada, yada. However, we're gonna add that in there, right? Under the public safety division.
Firefighters can get like the money to fund it, and then we'll just move in there.
Yeah.
We're waiting for
Have
them to
them
actually
pay for
finish
it.
up their building and then we're gonna kick them out.
Boom.
Yeah.
They'll say yes.
Yeah.
Let's see, they're gonna move. There'll be a lot of building. That building is very large.
Yeah.
See what we can do with
I
that.
wanted to
Go ahead.
potentially add something here.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I do love the last one. I want to keep that. The last white
Oh, yeah.
box, but, some of the big issues that we have with criminal activity in the city in regards to, just outright blatant just theft is dealing with the big box businesses that we have around
Oh,
here.
no.
'Cause the chain is
You're not gonna get
of
me started
demand
on
is
that.
so
are you?
high up. And so I'm wondering if we can put something in there where, we are working with the big box stores to move forward with criminal activity accountability.
Yeah.
Where maybe we have the CSO really pursuing those, aggressively.
Be great.
Yeah, because
Good.
the big box businesses are the ones that are like saying like, just let them take all the stuff
Right.
and leave.
Yep.
And there's,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
To
if we
small
can,
businesses.
yeah,
They
and if we can work with them, somehow moving up the chain
Mhm.
instead of just stopping maybe at the manager or
Oh,
the,
boy.
yeah.
Go ahead.
We are actually looking at partnering with our big box stores, and I'll be bringing this to you guys later,
Yeah, good.
using new technologies
Yep.
in identifying retail theft, organized crime groups that are working within the city. So
Yep.
it'd be a great thing to put on there, and we can look at all sorts of options.
Great.
Well,
And
that's where you're contacting the leadership at the big box businesses? Is that what you're? Yep.
Yeah, we're working with their regional managers and security plans that they're implementing.
Okay.
How those will work with us so that we can identify suspects.
I agree.
Wonderful.
That'd be great. Are we gonna be, how do we word that in there? Is that necessary? We put it a separate box, right? To work with
I think it should be a
local,
separate
large
box because it
businesses?
Fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because, I would hate to say that people steal from those stores because we let them, meaning the city council of Bonnie Lake allows people
Oh,
to steal
yeah,
from the
I've heard
stores, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm pretty hardcore on it because I think that we could require the stores to have a certain level of theft allowable for them. And when they are not meeting those criterias, that we delete their business license because they operate at the pleasure of the citizens of Bonnie Lake.
So you're saying that could be a policy decision?
And it would be big, hairy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to create an ordinance. I believe
They've-
Issaquah did
right.
something like that.
Uh-huh.
Shall we call Issa?
Yeah,
Right.
Huh.
it was something we were looking into. a little
Yeah,
while
it's
ago. I
pretty,
don't recall what the result
edgy.
was, but yeah. We might get ourselves sued doing it, but,
yeah.
Yeah, so I would recommend that we look around and there's somebody else who's already done something similar and see what they did.
So not
because
Issaquah?
You never, well, no,
No, there are,
Issaquah and or others who
there are
may have
cities
done stuff.
pursuing this, you know.
Typically, you don't want to be the first one to
Right,
do it. because,
exactly.
You're going to get the lawsuit, but if you
Uh-huh.
can see somebody who's doing it successfully,
Uh-huh.
that's something to copy, right?
Yeah, or work together with a coalition of, because I think there's a coalition of, you know, people that work on issues like that. Because it's
What
pretty
would we put in
outrageous.
for that?
I think what you're saying is exactly right.
I think Chief had something.
Yeah, go ahead.
here, too.
How about partner with retailers to combat organized retail theft? 'Cause that's
Yeah,
what we're talking
exactly.
about.
Yeah,
And we are working with
Yeah.
Law
I think it's-
Orca.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just pretty hardcore on it. The only reason I say that is because I think it's ridiculous, you know, that
It is.
these large businesses are literally, making the people pay for extra stuff that they don't have to pay for just because it's acceptable for their corporate thing to write that off and say, that's okay, that guy can walk out of the store with that thing and we don't care because, you know, it's going to make, police, they're going to come and do their thing. Yeah.
They have actual policies at these big box stores that tell the employees you cannot do
Right.
anything
Yes,
about it or you
yes,
will be
it's
fired.
Right.
And
Quite ridiculous.
The Sumner Fred Meyers has fired many people
Mm.
Isn't that
for
amazing?
intervening
Yeah,
because
isn't
the employees feel it's wrong.
Well,
But
is it possible, like, I like what you had said there, but I feel like we've had cooperation with our small businesses. It's these big box stores.
Mhm.
It's specific to the big box stores.
They're the ones that are easy to get a hold of, in my mind, and they're also the ones that bite worst, so.
we can leave it as like all retailers because we want to, no
Yeah.
matter who it is, you know,
We want them
we
to-
want them to all
they're partners.
cooperate in the
Yes.
same
Okay,
manner.
yeah, so how would we work with
Mhm.
businesses to move forward with criminal activity accountability?
There you go, nice, something like that, right along those plus or minus, you know.
I mean,
That's
you got to
great,
hold
yeah.
people accountable.
Yeah,
Want to do some wordsmithing?
yeah, that's awesome. Love it,
Chief, want to do
Yeah.
some wordsmithing?
whatever they think they
I
can
mean,
get
we
away
can put
with,
it the way I did it too.
yeah.
I just don't know if that's good wording.
I'll wordsmith something,
Yeah.
send you an email.
Work with businesses to assist with prosecuting crime.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
that's better.
minimizing.
It's a lot better.
Yeah. It would be interesting
Mine
to see if
has
we can come
P.
up with stuff. It's sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad that we allow them to get away with that stuff. It's pretty
But
sad.
I'm glad that it's getting pursued. It has
Yeah, I
been
think stuff
such a
needs to
problem
stop
at
here
public
now.
safety.
Draw a line in the sand and stick with it.
Yep.
Exciting. And the public safety vision, I don't know where, if it's a separate, it probably supports something else. I've heard the mayor talk about the flock cameras and different, speed cameras or intersection cameras and that type of situation. I don't know, is that fit underneath supporting something that we're working on or that just like
Do not
side thing or
like-
whatever?
Photograph.
We've been
Tickets.
going back and forth with it, so
I
Oh,
think
really?
I don't know that that's something. It needs
violation.
to be a.
You guys are working on a public
full
safety or
on
something like that?
Yeah.
If you want to give me a ticket, then you take the time to pull me over. Don't take my
Oh,
picture and
it'll
send
be
me
a
something in the
discussion.
mail.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I talked-
I-
Yes, it'll be a
If
discussion.
you didn't catch me
Yeah.
personally, then sorry, I'm not paying.
Note for the
Well.
record.
I think there's opportunity.
There
The
is.
other thing I will throw out that got thrown out in Waspic constantly, and we threw it out when we talked at the budget last time, we added 2 police officers, is that Washington State is 51st out of all 50 states in the number of officers per 1,000
Mhm.
residents. So we are literally dead last, right behind Washington DC and everybody else. So it is something to think about that, yeah, they can't stop you because everybody's out there breaking laws and everything, and we just cannot, we're not going to hire 18 more officers
Right.
immediately. So we have to start thinking about some other ways of doing business. I used to be totally against them as well, because I think it's been an intrusion and overstep and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, just hire more officers. But as we gotten to this point in this particular state, I think eventually we have to do something. And these, not everybody's going to pay, but enough people pay to make it worthwhile. You hopefully, really what it's supposed to be about is public safety.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Bonnie Lake community pages about the people that are running red lights and how upset everybody gets, right? And how often running a red light actually does involve a collision and stuff. This is a public safety issue. It's a public safety matter, and somehow we have to deal with it. So putting a guy in a car is really difficult to stop somebody in a red light, because now you're blowing a red light as well, right? So there's a lot of issues that come with this whole thing, and this is probably a much bigger discussion. But you can see I'm very passionate about it, and I can tell you why we have to do it. So let's have that discussion, I guess, later. But
Yeah, I
It's gonna
do
be a discussion.
feel
Yeah.
like,
It is.
I welcome it.
Already know it.
I love it. Yeah, it's excellent. As the chief is,
sometimes I feel like speed limits can be like a permit or permission or a recommendation, not necessarily a law per se, but is there harm done? So by going 5 miles over the speed limit, have you harmed anybody if you stopped at that light? And then what is actually considered a stop, and did you accidentally cross over the white line before you stopped, or you did a California stop and you noticed, hey, there's nobody coming because that road is empty. So obviously you took time to observe. And yes, I stopped over the white line. I looked both ways before I moved my car, but I didn't necessarily come to a complete and final stop.
So these
To
are
me,
great
that's like
discussions to have when
a
we have the
violation
discussion.
of the
Yep.
ticket process.
Just for the sake of time, it is
Yeah.
8:40.
Yep.
We did allow for 2 hours, so we
have one
didn't
left.
start until about
Good till
6:30.
Yeah, we're definitely,
So,
we'll be here till
I feel like this is kind of a workshop.
Yeah.
This is our retreat that we haven't gotten, which was originally scheduled for about 6 hours. So,
But this particular matter that you're talking
yeah.
about is a separate discussion issue that we can totally discuss. Like,
yeah.
because we're going to, it's
Yeah.
coming.
right.
Good.
It's
Yeah.
public safety, and it's part of policy that
Yeah.
we're looking to put on the public safety vision. So I'll be quiet, but I'm just gonna.
I don't
I'm
think we
putting
should
out
put it
my-
on
yeah.
here because it's gonna be
way
too
detailed.
debatable.
Cause
and-
this is gonna be an ordinance or
Yeah.
a city
Oh, yeah.
law
Mhm, yeah.
versus
Oh, yeah.
a vision.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Nice. We can move on from that one to, okay.
Last big one.
Increase community participation between public and police department. Well, of course, right? That's always a great thing to
Yeah,
have on there.
It's an easy one to leave.
Because we got a Citizens Academy we're still
Yep,
supporting,
I
I
love
guess,
all
right?
that.
Mhm.
Great.
No,
bullet.
the officer with the cop, coffee with the cop, and please continue. Yeah, all that type of stuff, right?
Okay, community engagement.
Right into mayor's wheelhouse. You got.
Should that go under community engagement, or is that gonna still be under public safety?
Well, it's so,
Because it has to do with the police department.
That one's specific.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because it is odd. I would say too that, it'd be nice in my mind if the public safety vision was like number one on our list up there, even above everything. So that when we, it was right at the top of what we do as
Yeah,
a
that
city.
is our main,
If we're not getting public safety
Funding.
right, then I think we're screwed. It's
Yeah.
like we might as well hang it up.
But I think that's probably something we can do easily is just ask them to reorder these. at one
Exactly.
point.
Yeah, I know. And they're not in priority order, but when people are like, not really, not at all.
Community engagement's left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I just like people to read, if they're gonna read anything, they get 12 words in, at least they got public safety on it.
Okay, that's fair.
Center's vision, we did that, transportation, public safety, community engagement.
community engagement, I do feel like, at some point, Deputy, when mayor was deputy mayor, we had coffee with council also.
Yeah, that was a great thing.
And
Yeah.
I never got the opportunity
What?
because I was working.
Oh,
So I was like, I didn't get put on the schedule, but now we have new council
Yeah,
members
we
and I
do.
think
Yeah, that'd be
everybody
great.
would love to have coffee with council, or,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah,
make
that
it
was-
more, accept, you know, along the lines of QR code events coming
I
up.
love it. Yeah.
right, exactly, yeah. We can do that.
Well, I wanted to add
Mhm.
something.
Oh, you want to add yet? Are we, okay, go ahead. Yeah,
No, you had a
yeah,
different
no,
one.
you're fine, because
No,
we
I wanna
were doing
follow the lines of
minuses.
thought.
We were doing minuses and then we added what was left, right? But if you got one on top of your tongue,
I do.
go.
Under community engagement.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. So, again, I was going back to kind of Maple Valley, and their communication with their residents. And so I'm just wondering if there's a better communication system out there to be able to get a hold of residents. Like, I'm thinking like a lot of the stuff that keeps getting brought up that's happening in Bonnie Lake, like I'm a resident and I haven't heard of them.
Right.
And that's where like, I'm just like, how did I not know that that was happening?
Right.
I'm on council even.
Right.
So we're hoping, and we're trying, I think Leslie's doing a really good job with This Week in Bonnie Lake.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
Whatnot.
Love
And
it.
so we're trying to put stuff out on.
What is the
ongoing
This Week
basis.
in Bonnie Lake?
It's an
So
email.
It comes in your email.
it's a Facebook or email
Yeah.
thing that's coming out. And so, yeah, it's got like 4 or 5
Has all
items
the
essentially of what's happening.
You literally are on the email. I'm not trying to be snide or
No,
anything, right?
no,
I'm
seriously,
just thinking,
tell
I
me.
just want to make sure, if you're not getting the message, and clearly it's going to be difficult for the public to. so,
True.
Right.
Okay, so a thought process is, I was thinking of, is there some way, how like we have the text alerts,
Mhm,
and stuff.
mhm.
And I was talking with Regine about this too, like,
Yep.
is there, a way to have a texting system?
Mhm.
It's
We can set-
currently set up, you have to sign up for
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah,
do.
but that's what I'm saying, is like,
Right.
that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And so I'm just
Sign up for
wondering,
Texting.
Yep.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
yes.
That's a great idea. We can get that
Yes.
sign right there that was.
Because if somebody tells me I have to travel through lots of like buttons to
Yep.
then sign up for some sort of thing
Yeah.
that I don't even know
Right.
what it is, I'm not gonna do that.
Right, there you
But
go.
if it's a QR code at a stoplight and I click it.
You're not supposed to have your phone out, chief.
No, she's a passenger. She's a passenger.
I was gonna stop at the gas station and then
I'm talking
go
about the
walk
Costco
back
light.
over.
I stopped at that light and then I'll.
Nice. As a
Mhm.
passenger,
Exactly.
I can do
And
that.
I would then sign up.
So, and doesn't that not fall underneath this first box that we're looking at, right? Maintain active communication. We need to reword that because we want to prioritize.
Maintain and improve.
Yeah, there you
Could
go.
we be more specific?
Digital.
I think your more specific would be the bullet points.
bullet points of
Right,
this.
so we could add that as.
Ah, yeah.
Hey,
Mhm.
we're gonna do a QR.
QR code
Yeah.
and text.
Yep,
Text alert.
and
Text
texting
alert.
abilities,
Okay.
whatever. it is.
One more thing too. I don't know if this has to do with the, what is it called? The recreation thingy, but
Uh-oh.
remember how, David was telling us about, it being able to communicate what's happening, like with
Oh,
with the
mhm.
kids.
Yeah.
So working, maybe for community engagement, we can, do something where we work with the school district in getting like events even out there. For stuff that's going on in the community.
One of on my SMART goals that I had put together. She loves
Oh.
so much.
Do tell.
So one of the things that I had it more under the Parks and Rec department, but Bonnie Lake High School actually has a sports and rec entertainment marketing class.
Oh, there you go.
That might be something that can be utilized to help
Yeah.
market some of our recreational events.
Well,
Even more than Parks and Rec, right? Like,
yeah,
like
Yeah, but you're
the
talking-
things that are happening.
when mayor was deputy mayor, we had a presentation coming up, which was making the high school students their own council,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, doing a junior council.
And
And I got that over here.
so that would be a great way if we had like the
That folder here.
communications
Yep.
department at the high schools to create a council and then be able to help with getting the message out to all of the schools.
We were going to suggest putting that in there, right, under as a separate box.
Yeah.
You know,
I
the,
think that's what I mean, I think that probably
yeah.
came with my discussion there with you, Mayor, about the
Mhm.
junior council.
Yep.
Mhm.
About, I think that would be a great way for community engagement, also to engage, especially the youth of the community and
Right.
get their voice a little bit
Yep.
more involved. Help them understand our local government system a little bit better. I think it's an important piece that we need to really pursue.
It's exciting if we can get them to participate at that level.
Well, and that's the key is I think the initial, we have to gauge the interest that would be there.
I spoke to the principal over at Bonnie Lake High School, and he like was ready with names already
Yeah,
for
good.
people who would be interested
Mhm.
to go and whatnot. So I think there's definitely interest.
And I was even thinking, I mean, with the two middle schools, Lake Ridge and Mountain View, if an eighth grader or two eighth graders, so that way you have kids who have started in eighth grade and then are now moving up to the high school level with already a little bit of experience. That might be even including even a younger group a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Definitely.
With junior council, I do have, you know, kind of, some thoughts. You know, because I was a part of a junior council before, but they chose me specifically because I was an at-risk youth and they wanted an at-risk youth voice. And I don't know that my voice was really that great, at the time. And I think it also depends on like, if you're gonna have a junior council, it really has to be structured in a way where there's like good leadership above them. Or else that can go very awry, very awry. I mean, I teach eighth graders, and so I've seen those things go awry.
You could almost connect each junior council member with a council member to shadow them and help
Yeah.
guide them along on like policies, procedures, how things kind of move along.
Yeah.
You know,
There-
It just,
oh,
it needs
this
to be
is-
structured.
This is another one of those like bigger discussions
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
literally we have.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
It was on an agenda at one point.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but should
Love to
put it on our
discuss it later.
goals.
Yeah.
Put it on our goals to pursue the development of a junior.
Exactly, for the box thing right there on the, add a box.
Out of box.
Mhm.
Yeah, Councilmember who?
I like in here where it says special events maintain at current levels. One of the things that I don't know if this is I feel like it goes under community engagement, but it's also maybe it could be part of bringing in like the different the business group. Yeah, commerce, that's it. Is doing more events almost throughout the summer. I'm thinking like actual farmers markets
Mhm.
where we actually shut down a section and we go, hey, this is all farmers market every Saturday morning, or like down in, you know, Puyallup, they've got the Saturday morning ones. Down in Utah, they have a farmers market 7 days a week.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, different sections of cities, they just have these farmers markets. And it's a great way for, you know, us as a city to sell space.
Yep.
And the retail or the person selling to be able to build their businesses and stuff. And Vancouver Washington has a massive one. And when we were down there a couple weekends ago, that was our purpose, was going to the farmers market because it's so huge and they shut down huge section of the downtown area. And it's, this road is these kind of vendors, this road is these kind of vendors, this one's these kind of vendors. And then parking lots have different types of vendors. And it's just huge and people flock to this.
Yeah, the uniqueness though of Bonnie Lake, I agree, but we literally have SR 410, which is a state route right down the center of Bonnie Lake that splits us in half. So I mean, there's very few like little roads where we could, unless we can get the businesses to open up their parking lots. And then we need like a bigger parking area on the outskirts where people could maybe park down a side road, you know, the roads that haven't been developed around Costco or whatever yet. But so I like where you're going with that. And I don't know if we could.
That's what I was thinking. These
Yeah.
roads out in here could be eventually. I mean, it's nothing's, you know, like
No,
going to happen right now because we're not developed to that point. But maybe there's a possibility of using parts of Midtown Park or Allen York Park for the time being, or things like that, where you can just get a
Leasing
bunch of
property at the Midtown that we're not using right now. Also, you know, considering the fact that being that it's fresh produce, fresh flowers, things like that. We're not necessarily going to be business friendly because it's going to be taking business away from Fred Meyer and Safeway, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to go get the fresh local produce.
prosecuting criminals.
Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna have a farmer's market.
Farmers market.
With the
I'm just saying, like, we want to also keep in mind the business perspective. It wouldn't necessarily be might be a competitive move that might be seen as counterproductive for the businesses
Yeah.
that are struggling for business. But like, I could see like out here, maybe because there's not other businesses
Right.
would be harmed, but
So we added a box. Did we get rid of any boxes in that section yet? Cumulative ratio? No, we added a box for junior council, right? What about the arts commission? You had the thing for.
I have another thing here for,
But we're.
yeah, to circle back from a few weeks ago when we kind of put a pause to the Arts Commission. I think that the Arts Commission is an important piece that we need to really put into our goals to how to recruit and retain and sustain that group. I mean, I think that's something, obviously, we know that the participation had gotten fairly low, but at one time it sounded like it was a pretty vibrant group of people. And how do we get back to that? I think that should be a goal of ours. Because I think that's an important piece to our city. I think they did a lot of cool things. So I would like to see that added to the goals to where we have some way to recruit and then retain or sustain, a group of around 8 to 10 individuals, maybe increasing I know we have one slot for under 18, I think now, and maybe increasing that to 2 or 3, maybe adding some more youth, into that group might help, keep it going.
And get participation from, the younger generation that can be very beneficial.
where are we going to put the art?
You mean the Art Commission? Where are they going to meet? Where they currently meet?
Well, I mean, don't they usually come up with a project of, art?
Yeah, and they've
a
done
goal?
things.
Yep.
And
We've had the birds out here. We have some of the wall art stuff in here. We have the garbage can thing, all kinds of weird stuff that they've done, all kinds of things that they wanted to do that they didn't have some funding or options for.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things is maybe, I mean, obviously, that's a budget thing to talk about is where is the funding on it? What's the budget? And, can we look to support that maybe a little more than we had in the past? If there's extra around for that. I know that, I know one of the goals was to replace the statue, to find out, to recommission an artist for that. Talking with, some former Councilman Evans, he was talking about, they painted trash cans around and just small projects, but just to have that as part of your community. I think there's a lot of people who are really engaged in the arts community around in Bonnie Lake, and to support that, I think is important for us to do.
John, I have a question for you. So we had insurance on the statue, Boy with Birds. Oh,
Really?
it's Chuck. Okay. So
Really?
what we did not, I thought we did.
So what we have is
General.
part of our coverage is for the entire, let's call it a monument down there. So it's the entire thing. We never had, maybe way back in the day, but I've never seen like a bill of sale or a proof of cost to replace that statue. We could certainly put in a claim, but I have no idea what the value of that statue is. We have a total cost of the entire site down there, which was I think somewhere around $40,000 for the entire thing, but not specifically called out the statue. So yes, we can put in a claim, but how much do I put in a claim for
$67,000, which is what it costs to build.
We didn't have $67,000 part of our insurance schedule.
But
so everything we have, this building, there's an associated value that we have listed on through our insurance for this building. There's a value for police cars. There's a value for that facility, the signs, the lights.
And
there was a value.
Replacement value for a future statue, because most insurance would be like a replacement value. I'm just saying, like, if we have an arts commission And then we put to task for them to create a new statue of some kind to put there, then how much can we budget based off of if we had insurance to recover some of the costs so that we could put that towards a new statue?
We can certainly file a claim and go through that process. Every claim that we file, of course, increases our rates because we're pulling money back. But yes, we can
Not our
do
fault
that.
the statue got
It's-
stolen, and it does need to, we got to do something with that little spot there. So, I mean, unfortunately, maybe we can take what little bronze that they found and melt it down and put it towards the new statue as a monument for what happens when you don't have insurance.
One bird.
There's 1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute for what?
I think we're
9 o'clock.
done, so.
9 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we, anything else? Oh, we're out. Good, yay. Thank you very much for hanging in there.
Guys.
Yeah,
Our business, we are adjourned.
thanks.
Yeah.
You bet. Close your eyes.
Good thought.
Council meeting.